gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. This is the first When We Fight, the much anticipated first podcast. Let me just start together. I'm here with Chris Cateau and Steve Short. We all work together.
We do.
And we decided that it might be, well, we started having discussions at work, and we decided that it might
Not
be,
at the office, of course.
Yeah.
Not at the office.
No, we started having discussions at work, and then we decided maybe it'd be better to put that out there.
To not offend people.
Yeah. Maybe I might have gotten in trouble.
We would much rather offend more people.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
In the public.
I hear there's a broader audience with podcasts than in the office place, so I see potential here.
Maybe a better place to do it. But one of the things that I got in trouble for was I was talking about how I was against pronouns or made up pronouns, I guess is the way that I especially would put it. Chris, you have a bit of a different stance. It's not necessarily against it because you also think it's against freedom of speech.
Yeah, so
inherently.
if you're in the public and you're just on the streets, then I think it is a violation of freedom of speech to fine somebody for calling somebody the wrong
anything
name or whatever.
anything.
Yeah. Although there is somewhat of a difference.
Thanks, asshole that's driving by in your loud ass truck right now.
So I do think that there is a distinction that has to be made, though, in that I could call you an idiot all day. If you're coming up to me and I call you an idiot, that's no problem. But if I'm following you around and calling you an idiot over and over and over again, then that would be harassment.
If you're following,
so I want to make a big call out here because we all know words are just sounds that are coming out of our face.
Right.
But as humans, we interpret those sounds, and unfortunately, we have an emotional response to them. So if I go up to a black person and I give them a racial slur, yes, it is just sound coming out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. To that person, though, it yields a great emotional response of frustration, anger. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we look at the transgender community or the community of people that are identifying themselves in different genders, just because you called him an idiot, it might not offend him, but if you call the wrong gendered person something that they've explicitly told you, I don't want to be called anything but this, I can see how people are getting upset and becoming the word offended. But I think that's key here is that it's a word that has and bears a lot of meaning to the individual.
Yeah, right. To clear that up, though, I just want to be clear on that. It's whether or not you offend them is a different question as to whether or not it should be legal.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Yeah, absolutely,
illegal.
Absolutely.
So if you,
I'm not advocating that people shouldn't be offended. By anything. You know, like you have the right to be offended by anything. And go ahead and finish your point, though.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, all I was saying is that when it comes to the issue of legality, it's okay to call somebody whatever pronoun they don't want to be called. It's okay in terms of freedom of speech if you're just walking down the street anyway. It may be different inside of
you'll be an
or
asshole
something like that. Now you'd be a dick.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm perfectly fine with people thinking that anyone is a dick too. Like that, you're a lot. That's another thing that you're entitled to, right? Is your own opinion.
Yeah.
So like, some people might think that they're being a dick. Some people may not too. That's okay too, right? Specifically though, getting back to the topic at hand, I've been doing some reflecting over the past few days, and it's almost to me is like you guys are very anti-religious, aren't you?
I am.
I wouldn't say that I'm anti-religion. I think religion helps build great foundations for the family.
For values.
For people. I think in some cases...
Okay, we'll get to that.
I think religion has an agenda, unfortunately, and we can see the byproduct of that agenda. There are a lot of religions that lobby our government, and they shouldn't be doing that. And they're making a negative impact on society. When I think of a religion, it should be something where there is that separation and that there's good values coming from whatever is being taught in the religion, whether it's Jesus, another God, or another deity, whatever it is. We need to have those basic foundational pieces. And that's why I say...
Not to get too deep into religion, but I was going to make the comparison that transgenderism is in itself, especially the way people are reacting to it today, a form of religion. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, right? You can make the comparisons, right? Because especially from the hard left. Do we want to use the word
religion or cult?
Cult?
No, and I'm not saying cult in a negative way, though.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Some people take it to a cultish degree.
Right.
But I want to make sure I'm not the word cult has this stigma on it. And cult, if you look at its definition,
It's what the big religion calls the small religion.
or it's really what
Yeah.
we're doing right now. It's a group of people coming together for a common goal.
Right.
So we're culting right now in this podcast.
Okay.
That's why I want to say maybe let's not bring religion, because then we're talking deities and afterlife,
Okay, yeah.
before
but,
life.
let me make my comparison, though.
I
Okay?
think what he's talking about is it's become a dogma to people, to almost like a gospel in a way.
Right.
Okay.
Sort of thing.
And let me take us back to the 1400s, shall I? Where freedom of speech
There
did
were-
not
there were a lot of
exist.
transgender people.
Maybe there were. Okay. But
We'll
where
never
freedom
know.
of speech did not exist, and it was customary to enter into a conversation by saying, Jesus Christ be praised. Okay? We're getting to the point where you can be thrown, especially in California,
Oh, I see
in
what
New
you-
York.
I see what you're saying.
we're getting to the point that, Chris, I don't know if you knew this, but just recently, California passed legislation that banned books that were about conversion therapy.
I'm never okay with banning books.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Never.
But I'm just making a point about California,
Yeah.
where it's becoming to the point where you cannot. You're a heretic, right? Like you're going against the common thought,
Society.
the common
That's kind of how
society.
they treat us sometimes,
Yeah. If you don't go along with this transgender thing, and a lot of people, myself included, don't necessarily buy into it. I don't think that just because you think that you're a man or a woman that necessarily makes you that. Okay? And let me make the comparison back to the religion, right? Where if I were to come up to you and say, hey man, I'm religious, and in my religion, it's very important that we open every conversation with Jesus Christ be praised, or Jesus, praise Jesus, or something to that degree, right? And so when you're trying to make me go along with your belief system, right? I won't call it a delusion. My official stance, I want to say, is that I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. You can do whatever you want, but don't make me play along with it. You know what I mean? Don't make me go, play into your belief system, because there actually isn't really any scientific evidence that suggests that just because you think that you're a woman or you think that you're a man, that you actually are. All right? And again, I don't care if you want to live your life that way. Here's what I think. I think that men and women they're a spectrum. There's no blueprint, defined structure for a man or a woman, right? People are different. Like, some men like this thing, some men like other, and women are the same. Some women like to get into this kind of stuff. Some women like to and if you want to live your life on a far side of the spectrum, I'm completely fine with that. If you want to chop off your dick and live your life as a woman, I'm fine with that too. But don't make me play along. Like, if I'm willing, that's fine, but don't force people to go along with your belief system.
I got you. So, in to a certain degree, I agree in general, and that's why I say if you're just walking down the street, then yeah, it's freedom of speech all the way along, unless of course you're following that person, harassing them, or whatever.
Sure.
I think the difference comes in is when you're talking about inside a business, or when you're talking about how a landlord treats its tenants.
Yes, that one big time.
That kind of thing.
Okay,
Which is what
specifically
which
give
is
an
what the New York
example.
law is more
Right. So can you give a specific example about the landlord and tenant thing? Like, what kind of situation you might be talking about?
Right. So in this goes to the New York law, which I did a little bit of research on anyway, and specifically it's talking about wanton, willful, and malicious conduct, essentially. So in the case of an employee who is transgendered, you could have an employee or a manager or whatever who you've asked them, please, refer to me as whatever, or hey, I know I used to.
So
I know you used to refer to me as a man, and that was okay. But you know what? I really feel like I'm a woman, And then that employer or manager, specifically just to annoy the person, is constantly calling, no, you're a dude, no, you're a dude, no, you're a dude. Yeah, I'm calling you him. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how you feel about it.
Isn't
So
that
that would be a problem?
Isn't that going against kind of exactly what I just said? Because that person is not forced to work there. They're not a slave. So if they feel like they're being discriminated against or harassed, right, they can leave.
But you could wind up in a situation, because especially with the transgender community, it's an extreme minority. It's not something
that's
you see
true.
very often. And a very
it's
large
becoming
portion,
more popular.
It is.
And
yeah.
I think I'll let you get back to but I just
Okay.
wanted to put this out there. I think that it's becoming more popular because it establishes you as a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be what gives you power these days, is the more victimhood that you actually carry, the more power you have to make decisions over or to call people out on their other shit, right? You know,
Yeah.
and I that disgusts me.
It does, and I agree a lot. It's happening a lot.
Yeah,
It
but
shouldn't.
get back
it
to
happens in many groups.
get back to. I'm sorry to sidetrack you. Get back to your. You were talking about the employer and how that could be.
Well, yeah, I mean that obviously would be a problem, because essentially the employer is harassing them or whatever. But and what you were talking about, how they could leave and they could go somewhere else. Well, not necessarily, because you could wind up in a situation where every employer is doing this, or is.
Don't you think
maybe
that
there's
that's
not that many businesses around? That
don't
kind of thing.
don't you think that that's a bit unlikely? I mean, because I mean, I think it's pretty proven that not most, but we're pretty split amongst the country, and actually, like your political affiliation has a lot to do with the way your brain is laid out. It's not necessarily like it's just like if you're more of a creative person, you tend to be more liberal, and if you're more of like a mathematician-ish, you know what I mean, like more of like you tend to be more conservative. And I don't think that every employer will have the exact same belief. I think that that's a stretch of what could happen, or some sort of outcome.
You could wind up in bubbles, though, where people in one neighborhood are generally thinking in a similar direction.
Isn't it there? Aren't we there already, though?
Well, one of the issues, to do an analogy here, so in like the 50s, 60s, that kind of thing, when it came to the civil rights movement, you had black people who were living in areas, and they couldn't get the services they need because they couldn't go to wherever they wanted, that sort of thing. They couldn't take advantage of the business.
Do you know a lot of that was government mandated, though? Jim Crow laws were on the books.
I'm not debating not debating where it came from.
Okay.
We're just saying it's there.
What I'm saying is that sort of thing can happen.
But there's no laws saying that transgender people have to live in a certain area, or that there may be law. In fact, there may be laws to the contrary that you have to have so many transgender people on your staff now. I mean, there has to be some sense of diversity. There is diversity laws,
right?
So it's there are laws to the contrary. And I disagree with those wholeheartedly. I think that
why though? Let's talk about that.
Business owners should be allowed to hire people based off of their skill set and who they think could benefit their business the most.
Right.
And I think that if you have a store, for instance, and you have a transgender person behind the counter, there's a lot of people that are going to kind of look at that a little strangely, right? Because a lot of people don't necessarily go along. Like they may think.
So you're hiring a person, someone on appearance.
Yeah, like it looks a little strange. I've seen them in bars, and it's cracked me up when I've seen a very intoxicated man talking to them like a transgender woman,
to some degree,
and he doesn't know what he's doing.
To some degree, I'm on your side in the sense, especially as someone who's dealing with the public.
Right.
I don't think Steve would look that great in a Hooters t-shirt.
Right.
So
no offense to you, Steve.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah. But although he did just turn you into a victim, so that gives you power over our conversation.
No, I'm all right. I'm not a
there you
victim. My life is good.
But you see what I'm saying? So there are times in which the appearance is actually important.
Well, can I take a step?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I like what I kind of get what you're saying, but when I look at this, and when I look at when the government gets involved into how our society works, I ask myself, how do I want our society to work? If me being a non-transgender person, how would I want to be treated or talked to if I was that person? And how would I want society to handle the situation as well? And that's where I say, I don't think that it's fair for a manager of an employer in any institution, whether public or private, to have the ability to discriminate verbally to another person or an employee that reports to them directly about their gender. If I've told you as an employee that I am male and I identify as male, but I happen to have female features, and you call that out and continually call me a female, That's not the society that I want to live in. I don't want to be a part of that. That's being antagonistic and causing confrontation.
Do you think
hostile
that
work environment.
do you
A
think
hostile
that most
society.
people-
Yes.
Do you think that most people are that antagonistic? Do you think that at the core that like what percentage of people do you actually think would partake in that kind of behavior?
Well, I think
I don't
you're
think
asking
I
a
don't
good
think
question.
Murder is common either, but I still think we need laws against it.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's laws against violence, and then there's laws against speech.
Mhm.
Okay, and I think those are very different
I
things.
think it becomes harassment when it's your
Yes.
employer is what I'm
Harassment.
talking about. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about.
Okay.
I'm not talking about accidental. Okay,
Well,
I
how
slipped
likely?
you know.
Let me repose a question to you. How likely do you think it would be for someone who would do something like that to hire a transgender person?
Not very likely, in truth.
So
yeah,
is this
but
situation
yeah,
very
but
likely
we
to
need to
occur?
be very clear on, is the person managing the person the one that hired the person? I know in many experiences of getting hired,
Yeah.
the person that said I got the job was not the first person that I worked with.
True.
Especially in our current environment. One person said you're on the team, but you're not going to be my problem.
So then
like a
who
large
who
corporation.
takes
Yeah.
the hit though? Who takes the hit? Is it the person that hired the person? Is it the person that's actually doing the harassment?
As a society, let's just choose not to be dicks.
Yeah, no, I'm all for being nice to each other, but I'm also all for not forcing your agenda onto other people. Right? We all have our different belief
it's
structures.
Not forcing the agenda onto them.
It is though, because if you're
it's about you have to treat this person with respect. That's all.
a lot of the left goes to this humanitarian respect kind of
So if I start calling you a chick, would you be offended?
probably not, because we're friends and I don't care, right?
So if I was your manager and I started calling you a chick,
I'd think that was weird.
it's like, oh, you're such a girl.
Yeah, I think that's weird. I don't know.
Be
I'm
like,
not a transgender person, so I'm
what's
not
the
one to
female
speak
version
on this,
of
right? But
Dante?
Right.
What is the female version of Dante? Does
What is
Dante, Does Dante have a female? Like
I don't know
Steve
what
has
that means.
Stefan or Stephanie.
oh, okay. So,
So,
you're
like,
talking
does your name have
name?
a female spin?
Dantessa.
Dantessa.
There we go.
Hey, Dantessa, what's going on?
Dantiqua?
So your manager comes up to you every day, and just a dick, does that to you.
Then I would quit. I mean, what if it's just not about gender at all? What if they're just a dick to you in general? You know what I mean? Like, why does it have to be about this for the person to leave?
I think the reason that we're calling out this specifically is because we know it's a pain point. We know that it's important to people to the point where they're coming out.
I think that
and
you're
being
trying to
vocal about
prevent
it.
something that doesn't happen very much, and also probably.
We could say the same thing
I
about
believe
murder.
that it happens actually quite a bit.
Why do you think
to those
that?
people?
Their manager or their employer does it. Is that what you're talking about?
I think we're gonna have to get facts to talk on
that
that.
one we just don't have statistics.
No.
on,
Yeah,
so
we
it's
need to get
hard
the facts
say.
Right, but I mean, let's just explore in our own minds, like how often, like knowing how people are,
Mhm.
and knowing the way that people act. How often would you think that it happens?
I know that we are a very Christian-heavy nation, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that Christians specifically don't believe in the concept of being a different gender. And so these religions...
But they also kind of don't believe in the concept of being an asshole, right?
Yeah, okay, so
Well,
which one are they going to
which one you're
choose?
talking about.
Yeah. Well,
Which one are they going to choose?
generally speaking, though.
Yeah,
I don't have much
depends on
faith
how
in
seriously
religion.
they take it, I think. But
Yeah, maybe.
yeah.
So I got to ask myself, what is a Christian manager, dude, 60 years old, been religious his entire life, how does he respond to a transgender person reporting to him? Specifically someone who looks like a male but identifies as a female. What is he supposed to do?
What is he supposed to do?
Yeah, is he going to be like, oh, I don't
Maybe
believe in
well,
this,
here's
so
something-
I'm going to call you male?
Well, here's the thing: is like this is about pronouns, right?
I think is what
Mostly.
manager identification
Yeah,
of an
mostly.
employee.
Okay, so
This is the
most of the
California
time
law,
when
right?
you're talking to
Or
someone,
New York?
it's
New
New
York,
York.
yeah.
The New York law. Okay.
Most of the time when you're talking to somebody, you don't usually, or when they're present.
I think
it's-
the law specifically said like Mr., Mrs., that identification too, right?
it was.
And,
I
like,
think it even goes into
documentation.
these 79 bullshit made up
It
pronouns.
was a little vague. It was a little general. I didn't read the full law,
Mhm.
but like they could ask you to call them Z or her. It's not stuff like
so
that.
stupid.
So
Those-
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that next.
People that I think that
The-
people that do that want to be referred by these made up pronouns want attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's my stance. I think they want attention and they want victimhood and they want some sort of just because
All of them.
No, Not all of them, but the majority, I would say.
So when you talk about sexuality and gender identifications, I think there's three that I would be okay with identifying as. You're either male, you're either female, or you're one of the two. But never
Or
are you
one of the
Z,
two?
Xi.
You mean other?
Other.
Yeah.
You could be an other.
Okay.
But I don't
What's
think...
an other?
So others, you are male, female, or...
Oh,
whatever
you
else
mean
is out
it's
there.
like a
It's
medical
in between.
sort of thing? Like
Well, from a medical perspective, and I think we need to adopt the science as a society. We just need to adopt the science. The science is there. Now, if you want to say that you have a sexual identity that's different, that's fine. Let's call it that, though.
Mhm.
On a medical perspective, you have a dick and a vagina, so I'm going to put you in the other category.
Okay.
You have a dick and balls. You're a male.
Yeah.
You have a vagina. You're a female.
Mhm.
So I think from a medical perspective, we need to say that one. Now, if you're in the transgender portal and you're working your way and you're transitioning,
Mhm.
that's another discussion. But the key piece is that we can't... I lost my train of thought. It's gone.
Well, let me pick up then. Why
right, let's
can't
hear
we
it.
just refer to people with their pronouns as their biological sex instead of their gender that they want to be referred to? And of course, like, if you can fool me, good for you. Like, you know, you win. You win. You win. But you know, it's just like it's hard for me to participate in something that I don't necessarily believe. I think that these people, I think it's possible. I don't know for sure. I think it's entirely possible, and I think that it might be important that we do some more research to find out.
Right. I would say until we do, it's better to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Is it?
I would say so.
There's a statistic
So
that
wait, so
40% of...
This is where I might
Yeah.
lean on the other side. So you
This is
think...
where you're wrong, okay?
We'll find out. Let's see. So, so you're saying that for now, because we don't know,
Mhm.
that we should go with the Z and Xi gender identifications.
Oh, as far as the pronouns go, I mean, I like the idea of having an other. I've mentioned that before.
Okay.
Where we don't need 79 pronouns.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's, and by the way, can you change it every day? That's crazy too. But I think it makes sense to have an other or an unknown as well.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know your gender, sort of thing.
And keep in mind, guys, this isn't. And this is kind of what I was going towards earlier. This isn't gender identification. This is sexuality. This is your identification of sexuality. What does
that mean, though?
So, like, I can be a male, but I like other men. So that I'm a male, my gender, but my sexual preference is to be.
You know,
with.
I saw a tweet from Donald Trump yesterday.
Here's a piece of wisdom. Coming.
Yeah, no. That doesn't mean it can't be funny.
I didn't bring the
Okay,
lube.
it
Give
made
me
me
a
laugh.
second.
Is my next point.
I'm kidding.
But I'm pretty sure it was from Donald Trump. It may have been a fake Twitter account. I saw it on a YouTube video.
Did it say
but-
the real Donald Trump?
I don't remember.
Say the cartoon president.
But let me say what it said. It said if one of the LGB things is bisexual, doesn't that mean there's only two genders?
Wait, say it again.
If one of the LGB stands for bisexual, doesn't that mean there's only two genders?
Oh yeah, because bisexual. Assumes...
Yeah.
What about a trisexual?
Trisexual.
They need another
Is that
T.
what the T is?
Oh, dude.
And that's another thing. You know, I've always wondered, why is transgender lumped into LGBT?
I think it's
I
just
think-
a community of awareness, right?
Yeah,
Is
that,
it?
That, and I think,
Yeah.
I think they've dealt with
LGB stands for your
similar levels
sexual orientation, like what you're attracted to. Transgender has nothing to do with
I think it has more to do with the type of discrimination that they get. I think that's they sort of identify with each other in a way, to a degree, because they've dealt with similar situations.
I think that maybe a lot of those people are on one side of the spectrum that men and women are on, that I was talking about earlier, and that maybe they all kind of can congregate there as a group, and that just brings it back to, you can act however you want, but don't make me play along, right? Just like with religion, right? Like, I don't necessarily believe in much...
So I get where you're coming on that perspective, but we have to be very real. I mean, we talk to people out in public. So I get where you're coming from, that I don't want to impose
But at
that on
one
you.
time,
So what do
Steve,
we do?
it was important that you followed along with religion that maybe you didn't necessarily... Like, it was important.
As
That
a society in that time, it was important. So today, what is it? We're changing. We're adapting as a society.
Absolutely.
We're
We've
moving
changed.
forward, but we see that we're not moving together. We're moving. Groups are saying, well, it's
Absolutely,
not
that's what's
appropriate, and it is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing this
And
divide.
it is kind of funny because it's a very small community, isn't it?
It really
Like,
is. That's the other point that I wanted to make this whole time. So if you're inconvenienced by identifying someone by their gender, then fuck you, because they're less than 1 fucking % of the population or some shit like that. There's a small amount of people out there.
Yeah.
You're not going to fucking see them out there.
Right.
And if you do, fucking pucker up and be nice. Be civilized. And then we won't have to have laws.
Yeah.
I would love to have a society that we just all love each other. That's the cool thing I like about religion. If we followed religion like the way we're kind of supposed to, it'd be fucking great. We'd all love each other. The law
read the book.
The Mormons believe the law of consecration. Best fucking thing in the world if you're a socialist. But if you look at it from a fundamental perspective, it's great. Everyone's happy. Life is good. I want that for our society, and I don't want our government to have to put laws in place for it. You're not going to see a lot of transgender people. Don't be a dick. Be nice. And we won't have to have laws. But it sounds like they're not being nice, and that's why laws are starting to come into place.
To be fair, I don't think that Dante would be a dick.
I don't think.
No.
No. I'm saying
Not
to
usually,
everybody.
He just doesn't want to be forced to not be a dick.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I don't want to be forced into things.
He wants the opportunity
my-
to be a dick.
Sure,
Without
with the-
repercussion.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's think about where these laws
America!
can lead us. Let's take a serious look as to where these laws can lead us. The law in California is that if you misgender someone, okay, that's anyone. It doesn't necessarily matter if they're transgender or not. The verbiage of the law doesn't specify that. If you misgender someone, you can be penalized for that. And think of how many times. Hang on, let me finish my point. Think of how many times both of you, including myself, have done that when we were little in school.
Yes, but it's not talking about an accidental.
That's not accidental. If I'm trying to bully you in school
that's
and
different.
trying to give you a hard time, and I'm like, "Oh, you're such a girl, Chris."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or Steve, you've done it to somebody. Don't tell me you haven't. When you were little, you didn't call somebody a girl. Give me a break, Chris. You really had to think about that.
I plead the Fifth Amendment to
Yeah.
the Constitution of the United
Okay.
States.
It's been long enough. I don't really remember.
I'm sure
pleading ignorance.
It probably happened.
did.
So what could happen from this, especially because
Well,
people,
hey, I want to
our
make a call out
legislator-
really quick though.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how old you are.
33.
So you're 33. So when you were 10,
Mhm.
what was society's appearance of misgendering somebody?
Well,
Was it a problem?
That's a fair point. No, it wasn't.
It was a joke. Everyone did it.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen today in school. Absolutely it does, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where we need to teach our kids what is acceptable today. And
That's
what you and I
fine.
grew up with.
No, look, that's fine. I think that that's fine. Like if you need to, for one thing, you need to have a little bit of some skin, right? We all
Yeah, I
can
agree.
agree that you need to be
Yeah.
able to take some shit from people.
Yeah,
and
life's
it's
tough.
important. Well, yeah, life's not easy, right? It's getting too easy, but
How what life are you living?
Yeah.
it's getting, no, for sure it is. For sure it is. But
I feel like a fish going upstream. Like in the sense that it's not getting easier.
oh.
I don't
Anyway,
think it's
back to
either.
the point is like it's important. That should not be legislated. That should not be like you should be allowed to
Well, to be
razz
fair,
your friends
to be
and all
fair,
that.
If some kids are calling a little boy a little girl and they're doing it like harassing him, I think the teacher should step in and stop it.
But should the
Agreed.
kid be sent to jail? Should
No,
the
I
kid
mean,
be
okay,
written
so-
a citation? That's what I'm talking about.
Well,
I'm
it's a
not.
minor.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So
That doesn't
when
matter.
I first moved to Ohio, I'm going to tell a funny story about myself. I moved to Ohio, 3rd grade. There was a kid in the class who was of color, and we were sitting at the lunch table, and I didn't really know what the word meant, but I had just learned it, and I pulled the trigger on that word, and damn well he knew what that word was, and he knew exactly what to do about it, and I got my hand
Oh,
smacked.
I remember when I said shit. And some kids like, I'm like, what? I don't fucking know what it meant.
What the fuck's the
Yeah.
problem?
Yeah.
Mine was asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I accidentally called a black kid.
Oh, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a mistake. It wasn't intentional.
No, yeah, you just didn't know.
I just wasn't
And I
really
remember,
paying
like, I
attention
went and
to
asked
the
my
word.
friend, I'm like, what does it mean? He's
Exact. I
yeah.
asked the principal. I said, "What's the problem?"
like, yeah.
And they're like, "Well, it means this." And that's what I'm saying. We just, as people in our society, we need to understand what is appropriate and what is not appropriate.
God damn. I told this thing not to sleep.
And again, I would say that the point is, it's the accidental part of it is not is not the issue. That's not what is against the law either.
Well, isn't that what you were saying that it is?
Yeah, it is.
I think he's
No.
saying
Intentionally, no.
California.
Well, okay, but my point was in school, you definitely intentionally called somebody a girl.
Right.
That wasn't a girl. It wasn't transgender either.
Right, but he's asking is the piece of accidental identification
that's not
grounds for
accidental,
legal? No. So let's say
that's what I'm saying. So the accidental part is not what's actually against the law,
Right.
At least not in New York's law. Okay.
Yeah.
like Miss Dante. I mean, sorry, Mr. Dante.
Miss Dante. No, I go by Miss. Thank you.
Dantessa.
Yeah.
Dante. So something like that, is that legal? Is that allowed? Like if I slip up like that?
Oh,
Or is
absolutely.
that...
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
with you then.
So the New York law essentially is, and the wording, it was wanton, willful, malicious conduct, essentially. That's what they're penalizing, and it's a fine, not going to jail. Although the fine
It
could
could
be up to $250,000 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But it could.
That's
it could
nothing
get
in
there.
California,
That's
though.
in, that's
Like
in
an
New York.
employer or
No,
something
not
like
in
that,
California. That's in New York. But
Okay. I don't know California.
well, still in New York,
Yeah.
that's
California,
nothing.
it's a citation, I think. But
Okay.
I don't know actually. But
Yeah.
but still, I don't think that people should get that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're harassing someone, you should be removed for harassing them. Right? And it shouldn't matter what it's.
So
for.
you're okay if we just slip it under the harassment clause then?
If that's actually what's happening.
Okay.
But if someone's unwilling, I'm defending people who are unwilling, just like I would defend people who.
You're talking about the 60-year-old dude that's the employer and he's religious and he doesn't believe in this,
Yeah.
aka delusion,
Right.
that they're going through. So
And
they don't want to identify.
Just
them.
like I would defend someone who's using the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that they should not be arrested or jailed or anything for
Okay.
that, unless they're. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, if
Unless
you
it's
use it one
harassment.
time,
But
if you
should-
use it to attack someone, that's okay too.
But should a manager, an employer, be able to call his employee a nigger over and over and over again?
Oh, I don't
I
think
think-
they can. That's a civil rights.
It might be, but I think that yes. Now, do I think that company or that
Should not employ him.
should I think
should have a
that
policy.
they should take I think that they should take action internally because and it should be because of public opinion.
Society.
That is, I think that there should be a societal thing. I don't think that the law or the government has any place in there.
The problem comes, though, is when your society starts to split.
Yeah.
Both of them are going to try and advocate to the government legislation that will protect their societal views.
Mhm.
And that's
Well, we have a
tough.
document that sets a precedent, right? I mean, we have the Constitution.
Yeah.
And I think that that this stuff is clearly
Well,
under
we're-
that.
we're following
and
the
that public. I
Constitution,
think
though.
that public businesses should be allowed to do how they want. And then if the public has an opinion that makes that business suffer,
So,
I
yeah,
think
let's
that-
talk about this
But
one.
that didn't work until the government stepped in the civil rights movement. They were
no, that's not true.
This is where the government
the
pushed
civil
it.
rights movement made it illegal for there to be laws saying that stuff had to happen.
So it made it
and
illegal
there
for
were
the
laws.
government.
There were plenty of people that didn't want to participate in that kind of stuff that were forced to because it was the law.
Mhm.
Okay, so the government was the problem in the first
Yes.
place.
I'm still not understanding. exactly
Jim
how-
Crow
okay.
wasn't some kind of movement. It was laws on the books that said there has to be a wall
Oh, yeah.
dividing white people and black people, or there have to be separate
But
water
a
fountains.
lot of this was
A lot of
society as
businesses
well.
think about this. A lot of businesses wouldn't want
'cause
have to put into water fountains for their different
Yeah, but
types
so-
of customers.
I want him to say what he's about to say. 'cause
Yeah,
this
go
is,
ahead,
This
go
is
ahead.
critical. Our government is only going to do what the people want to do based on society.
Well,
So that's-
to a certain degree. So a lot of the civil rights stuff. So the Jim Crow laws had a lot of them had disappeared, and then that's when you had a lot of the marches where the cops were coming out and beating the black people. It was actually the cops who were breaking the law in that case. So when you have a society that feels this way, genuinely feels this way on a large scale, you have to have the government intervene. Otherwise, you have this discrimination.
But the cops aren't a business. Here's the problem with that,
Yeah.
Chris, is the cops don't answer to public opinion. Unfortunately, they should.
Oh, they very much do.
Oh wait, well,
I disagree with that.
we should have police reform. I think.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with that.
I'm definitely for
Yeah.
that.
No, so
but-
as a
but-
citizen,
but- no,
if
no,
I
hang on,
outlaw
let-
something, the police are going to enforce that. That's why I say, as a society,
if you what?
if we outlaw something, marijuana, the
Right.
police don't give a shit.
We didn't outlaw that.
The government did.
Right.
But
and
if
it wasn't
becomes-
it was because of manipulation by William Randolph
Agreed
Hearst.
100%.
But
Yeah.
but my point is that police don't, and it's very obvious, especially lately, that police don't answer to public opinion, because like there's been plenty of shootings where the people are, and where the police get off scotch-free, and here's why. It's because of the government. The government says that they bring in a jury, they bring in a police expert, okay? And another problem is that the district attorney that would prosecute these police has to also work with them in order to get cases, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of reform.
So wait,
Yeah.
is that public opinion?
No, it's
So
all
you're saying
about
they're going against it?
what?
That they're going against public opinion?
Who is the police?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't answer to public opinion. A business does. People can boycott a business. People can't boycott the police.
Well, and this is why I say the police need to be a privatized organization.
I don't know about that.
Well, why do we have to rely on our local government to provide law enforcement? Why am I forced?
Because
to pay
if
into
you
that?
don't,
Because I don't wanna
then the
pay for
people
police
that
insurance.
Well, you're already paying it right now in your taxes.
Yes, but it would
Yeah.
be a lot more expensive.
Are you sure it would?
And in order to avoid getting robbed, I'd have to show my insurance card first.
I'm willing to
You know,
listen to
there's-
Steve on this one.
There's a lot of issues
What's that?
there.
I'm willing to hear your.
So here's my problem, like,
sorry,
You brought it up perfectly. A privatized corporation has to answer to public opinion. Starbucks is a beautiful example of this right now. They're getting a lot of heat.
Money.
Well, they have to answer to the money, and if the money's not coming in because the people don't want to go to that organization, then they're going to go.
That whole thing.
Wait,
let's talk
I
about
need
that.
to. Well, let's use that for this next conversation.
Yeah.
Starbucks is discriminating, or has been, unfortunately, in public view, discriminating against black people.
No, they haven't.
People have been coming out and saying, I do not agree with this, and it's not right. And Starbucks is taking a step back as a private organization and saying, shit, we need to do something about
All that
this.
is horseshit, Steve.
I know nothing about it. So
Okay.
I
you don't?
Well,
Right.
then you stay out.
But I do want to say we have private police. They're called mob enforcers. The people who have the money are the ones who.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a big risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be the problem of money and funding it. But I think the big piece behind this is that we have an organization that is within the government that has tenured money for the rest of their lives, police organizations. They can do whatever the fuck they want and get away with it.
Yeah.
Like you're saying.
It's
And-
because let me go back to the court situation. I don't know if I got to finish it.
Oh,
but
sorry, yeah,
they
yes,
bring
go
in
ahead.
a police expert and they tell the jury, ignore your personal feelings on this. You have to go by what this guy says on whether or not this is justified, because the police isn't this expert would know if this is a justified shooting or not, because he's been a cop. He knows like the procedures. He knows all of that.
He went and had beers with the guy that's
Right.
on trial.
No, well,
3
that
weeks
and then
ago.
also the problem is that the district attorney, right? He has to work with the cops, and so if he's throwing the cops in jail, they're not going to fucking work with him to get the real criminals off the street. But let's get back to the Starbucks thing if we can. Did anyone else have anything to add
I just
before?
want to say, I mean, a lot of that can be fixed through reform. So, for example,
Sure.
having an outside court take care of it. So this,
Or an outside district attorney,
yes,
like somebody that
And
prosecutes the
that's
police
just
is a
one
district
aspect.
attorney from a different district, so that they don't have to work with this.
They're still going to
particular-
be buddy-buddy. I think
No,
it's to the
I
point-
disagree.
I think it's to the point where we need
I
to
think
have
that
an
everybody's
agency.
outraged by all of these shootings, and
I agree.
And it's
Well, I don't
not-
think everybody is, actually.
Well,
I
you're
think
right.
a lot of people are
stand
turning
by
a
the
blind
police.
eye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
fair
don't. They'll say.
Well, and that's why
don't
you have
know what
these
it's like."
kneelers in these NFL games, because they feel that Americans they turn their head to it. They don't agree. They don't care what's going on. They don't see the.
I don't think
the
that's true. I
problem
think
with
that
it.
there's just a huge block to prevent it and to stop it and from those people actually being punished for their wrongdoings. And let's also stay, guys, that being a cop is probably pretty fucking tough.
I would agree.
Okay, it's
And
probably pretty,
you know that when you apply for
and
it.
almost all of them probably are operating with PTSD. Almost all, because you don't know.
Okay,
a
and,
lot of
there's
them
medical
come-
benefits out there for those people, and they shouldn't
Sure.
be in the line of duty if they have that.
Maybe not, but the point is that that's a tough job, and you have to be
And they
amped
know
up
that
because
going
they
into
show
it.
you in training. Hang on, Steve. And they show you.
I have no sympathy. I'm sorry.
Well, I've never been shot at in the military, but I've talked to plenty of people who have.
Right.
Okay, and there's your mind, especially, and even like in a high speed pursuit, like think of how angry you get when somebody's driving too slow in front of you. Let alone, you know what I mean? Like, you know how pissed off you get in your head because you like road rage that boils up? It's because that you like driving is inherently dangerous and your mind is aware of it. Your brain is aware of it. And you're on like level 7. right? Already, you're like, and then like, so something just minor happens, you fucking grr! So imagine like how crazy, like how much heightened that is when you're chasing somebody in a high speed vehicle pursuit. Imagine how, like, it's a tough job, and you need to acknowledge that. Okay.
Oh, I acknowledge it 100%. I acknowledge it to the point that when you sign your name on the application, you too, as the applicant,
Is
should
it possible
acknowledge
that as somebody who's never been a police officer, that you might go into it with certain expectations, then you get there and it's a bit different, and it may affect you?
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
So I'm going to quote Dante from earlier. Then find a new job.
But that doesn't mean you don't like it. That doesn't mean you want to get out.
So just because I like doing something and I'm trigger potential, I'm okay to keep doing it?
But what if you've displayed no evidence of trigger potential? Like, what if you haven't been in that heightened, escalated situation yet?
So if you haven't been in the situation yet, then all you can base it on is your understanding that the job is going to be very risky. And I think this is where we need...
No, I'm with you. Like there needs to be... I think what Chris and I probably all agree on is there needs to be better training.
Yes.
Oh,
There-
100%.
There needs to be better,
100%.
and so you can't blame the officers for having the training that they currently have. Because I'll tell you something, Steve. When you go in, they show you all these videos of shit going wrong.
Yeah.
And that sticks with you, dude.
Oh, I've seen a
That
bunch of
get-
them. You go
that-
on YouTube and you can watch
They
60
trigger
minutes.
happy themselves in training. They make them like, if you don't fucking shoot, here's
You're
what'll
gonna
happen.
get shot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so there needs to be better training. There needs to be just better.
There's even been cases where cops have gotten fired because they didn't kill somebody.
Oh, really? I'm not aware of that.
I
But-
haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I want to say it was in Oklahoma. There was a guy, which this is kind of typical. So there was a guy who was in the military, so he's been in those situations before. He got a call from a girl who she's afraid her brother is going to kill himself or whatever. Guy gets there. The brother has a gun, but the cop has an understanding. Okay, this is an attempt to commit suicide by cop, essentially, which is a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and but he realizes that's what this is, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't shoot the guy or whatever. His backup arrives. His backup sees the guy with the gun, immediately shoots him in the head.
Damn, dude, that's
If
not easy to do. I've shot a pistol. It's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. No,
That's like Walking Dead shit.
Yeah.
I don't know that the point of my story was the aim of the cop, but
Right. No, I know.
That's how
I'm just-
Dante
I'm
got
just
from
thinking-
it.
No, I'm just.
That's how Dante got.
Well, no, it's just
Nice
like.
shot.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that's kind of a risky thing to do.
yes, it is.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
Because I couldn't.
You
I
wanna hit him in the
definitely
chest.
couldn't. Well, no, not even in. It'd be tough to hit him in the chest from like 30 yards.
Yeah.
That's a tough shot, man. You could
Yeah.
easily miss. That was
Yeah,
my.
I
point.
don't know how close they were or anything
Yeah.
like that. But to continue with that, so afterwards, they find out the guy's gun was empty. Okay, so there was no threat there. The original guy, who used to be in the military, had assessed the situation correctly, and he handled it correctly. In my opinion, was a hero if it had worked out.
Right.
But because he did something which, according to his captain or whatever, said you put the lives of the other cops in danger because he didn't shoot this guy. So he got fired. I don't know what happened to the other two. Obviously, they probably kept going or whatever. But he got fired because he didn't kill somebody, essentially. Which, obviously, that's an issue.
Yeah, no, for
Right.
sure. And
Yeah.
and you and I will agree that there probably just needs to be better training. Steve wants a privatized organization or something.
Well, the only concern that I have about private organization for law enforcement is the money. The poor communities are going to have a difficult time. However, I want to stress the importance of why I want this private organization.
Okay.
If you don't do what I want as your customer, you will not get my money. I don't have that option today with police. If a police officer does something that I don't agree with, I have no recourse. I can file a complaint with the department and
Doesn't
hope
do
they do
anything.
something.
It never
Right.
does
Yeah,
anything.
and there's actually videos.
Yeah.
I think it was Arizona. Someone went around and tried filing complaints against the complete police departments and just recorded it. And 9 out of 10 of them were like, "Get the fuck out of our office." There was one that was like, "Here's the form. You can fill it out.
Right.
We're sorry we upset you." But that's what I want as a consumer, and it's unfortunate that my government has put in a process that they take my money, theft. They're literally taking my money to pay into this organization that I believe is becoming too overpowered, and is going way beyond what their original intent was. And they're using my money for that. And that's my biggest gripe. As a consumer in the United States, if I don't agree with a private organization, you're not going to get my money. And you'll go out of business if enough of people like me have that opinion. And we don't have that with the police. And that's the big problem.
That is a big issue. I agree to some degree. I just don't see that privatization is what would fix that. Because that winds up being the people who have the money are the people who would tell the cops what to do at that point.
Right.
So that's...
or it would tell their private organization.
Because essentially, our police, in a lot of ways, they are mob enforcers. Because the government wants
it's
to...
the mob.
Like, for example, the Dakota Access Pipeline, where they're, beating down these people and everything. They're mob enforcers, essentially. Yep.
Well, see, that's the other thing that I like, too, is so if the government comes in and says, oh, we got to put this pipeline in, but my private militia that my organization and my community has come together, let's say a city came together and said, we want to pool money for this, is going to come in and say, no, we actually own this land and you can go fuck off.
Right.
But they don't have that option. And I think as, citizens, we should.
Yeah, I think a lot of that boils down to just a full-on government reform, which probably just need a political revolution of some kind, in truth.
Yeah, it might happen.
It probably will.
So let's get back to this Starbucks topic that Steve brought up and how he's completely wrong. Well,
so let me tell you what I know about it first.
Okay.
I've heard stories that...
You've heard stories, okay.
And I've seen videos of it. Mm-hmm. African Americans going into Starbucks and just getting treated
without
like
context. Let's be honest, okay? What happened here is Starbucks enforced its policy that they enforce, or that they use against everyone.
They used it on a black person.
Indiscriminately. So what? If they use it on a black person,
and they
black
didn't
people
use it on a white person. Are you talking about the bathroom
No,
usage?
there's two. That's the second video.
Okay. So which one are you talking about?
For one thing, it depends. That's a different location, and that's important to say, because if you go to a Starbucks here, they don't have codes on the bathroom.
Right, you just walk in.
Yeah. Okay. So that's important to mention. Now, the first video, what happened was two people came in.
Can we do a cutscene and show the video here?
No.
Okay. Can you cut that out?
No, because it'd be better if we could actually watch it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Especially because I'm lost.
Can we throw it in right now? Yeah, and he can watch it.
I suppose that's possible.
How quick on your YouTube skills are you?
Dude, I'm not good enough.
For this time, we'll just talk about it.
Yeah.
And
I'll trust your word.
And we'll put it in post. Without context, the first video was they walked in, they asked to use the restroom. They told them the policy is you have to buy something. And there's a reason for that.
I get it 100%.
Yeah, it's because this is a big city.
Well, what state was it?
There's homeless Philadelphia.
Okay.
It's a big city. There's homeless people. They don't want homeless people loitering in their business, using the bathroom, and that's a fine thing, right? That's fine. It's a private business. They're allowed to do what they want. Mm-hmm. They use this policy on these people. They got upset about it. They started recording. Then the person. Another thing that Starbucks has is a non-loitering policy, right? Yeah. You're not allowed just to sit in there and hang out and use their Wi-Fi that costs them money, and just chill. You're not allowed. Yeah. Okay.
Not without buying something.
Right. Now, without buying something. So the manager of the store. Let me finish. The manager of the store. What? I think it's reasonable that we get to finish our fucking what we're.
Go for it.
All right. You don't get to interrupt. So the manager of the store then, as they were sitting there, came up and asked them if they wanted to buy anything. They said, no, we're just here for a meeting. Sorry, you can't do that. They asked them to leave. These guys were dicks, all right? They said that they were dicks. We don't have the testimony from the manager, but the police that came and responded said those guys were being dicks. We're not leaving. You're going to have to arrest us. We're not fucking leaving. Okay, So they got arrested, and then Starbucks didn't press charges. That's what happened, okay. All right? There was a second video later on because somebody got wind of this story, and he went and asked to use the bathroom.
Got told no.
Got told, well, no, there's no context. He started recording after he says he got told no. Mm-hmm. He went and asked a white guy who went and asked to use the bathroom who they did give the code. And they said, yes, they gave me the code. There's no video of him asking to get the code. It's possible that he just stood there and then asked. Now, Starbucks policy has another policy that you're not allowed to take pictures or videos. I've been flagged for this policy.
Really?
Absolutely. At the one at fucking the Strip. They've told me you're not allowed to take pictures in here. So this guy with his camera goes up to the manager and says, "Hey, how come you're giving this guy the code but you won't give it to me?" There's no actual video evidence that they didn't give him the code. Okay, So I mean, he might be telling the truth. He might not be. But what we know is there's no video evidence of him not getting the code. She says you need to stop recording. You're not allowed to record in here. That is something that I've experienced. Okay, as a privileged white male. Anyway, they tell him you need to stop recording, and then they tell him to leave because he won't stop recording.
Yeah,
he won't. So they ask him to leave. That's the video that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. And he didn't. The other guy's like, he didn't do anything because he's a cuck white guy that's sticking up for this dude. But
well, no, the fact that you're recording, I agree. You should be escorted out of the building, and if the police have to come and do that,
okay.
That's
and
fine.
if you also have a policy, now here's a story that goes along at a Starbucks. I don't think it was the one that we're talking about, but a few years beforehand, a police sergeant went in and asked to use the bathroom, and they told him, "No, you have to buy something." Yeah. This guy was white. Yeah. Okay. So that's a policy that they're enforcing.
Do we have a recording of that?
No, it was a news story. It was recorded as a news article.
Oh, shit. Well,
yeah.
All right.
It was a news story. And then Starbucks apologized for this. They've apologized for this. I think the whole thing is blown out of proportion because the leftist media wants to promote this agenda that there is racial discrimination, which sure, there is. But it's not systematic. It's not businesses doing it. Because businesses don't have an interest in doing that. They want to serve everyone that's willing to buy stuff from them.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So here's my problem. I've gone to Starbucks a bazillion times, and we're in Ohio, so it might be a little bit different than these other states.
Right.
I myself, as a white person, have loitered and just sat there.
Sure.
I've gone there numerous times for college meetups.
But it's worth, and I did point this out earlier, that it's worth mentioning that you can go to the bathroom here. Nobody's going to fucking say anything.
Right, and that's why I wanted to make that
a little bit different there.
But I have to ask myself, how many times has a white person gone to this Starbucks and just sat there and loitered, and they didn't do anything about it?
Well, they also made a scene.
The black gentleman, after they were confronted about if they were going to do anything.
Yeah, they also made a scene.
Yeah, so I can see the issue there, but the original engagement, I don't believe would have happened if it was a white group.
Maybe not, but you can't say that for sure.
I think that's where we need to go and look at the...
But I've given you evidence. I've given you evidence of even a police officer.
We have one incident of a white person.
We have one incident of that not being the case.
Well, we're starting to see that there's
anecdotal
more than
at this
that,
point.
And whether or not...
You're starting to see more of that.
Yeah, we have 2 incidences now. And it's gotten to the point now where Starbucks is going, whoa, let's step back.
2 incidents without context.
I think we have a fair understanding of what went on.
I can't say that. I'm looking at
if there was a true incident, I feel like Starbucks would have probably pressed charges. If there was a true incident.
Well, no, they just didn't want to. What do you mean? They're enforcing the policy. They said if you're not going to leave, we're going to call the police. They got what they wanted, right? They got them out because that was the whole point. That was the goal. Yeah, that was the goal. So at that point, there's no need to press charges.
I know it's a tough one, man.
I agree with you both.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
It's a tough one. I mean, we'll talk about white privilege a little bit later.
I do think that it is more likely for a black person to get to have.
It's possible. I'm not saying that didn't happen, but what I'm saying is the evidence. Yeah. This is the evidence. We don't know about this is what we do know. Yeah. Okay. And it's entirely possible.
Our society today, though, Well, you and I might disagree on this.
You and I will definitely disagree on this.
This will be fun. All right. So my understanding of the world is that if we put people of color in the same situation as a white person, like this Starbucks scenario, the African American gentleman or lady is going to be more questioned. Is going to face a more difficult time trying to get whatever they're trying to do, and
generally speaking, that's true.
Yeah. I think for a lot of scenarios, they're going to get more flack. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. They're going to be asked more questions.
I think that's the public mainstream belief, and I think it's because the mainstream leftist
we see it.
media puts it out there like crazy.
I see it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, but it could be happening the other side. The only problem is that it doesn't promote the leftist mainstream media agenda, so they don't put that out there.
I am on the other side. My life's great. I've been very blessed. I've been very
fortunate. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to everybody else. Yeah,
but I have a lot of people
it could be
that are white, that are my friends, and I talk to them and I say, "How's your life going? What's going on with you? What's going good?" And I hear the same general consensus
that you hear that from.
I hear a lot of problems.
So you have specific anecdotes that you could recall.
I don't want to say any names, but yes, there are gentlemen that I know that are black, and they have had many encounters just because they're black. Just because.
How do you know
black.
that it's just because they're black?
Because I had the same interaction and I had no problem.
But you're a different person. You're a different individual. I have a black friend.
Okay.
Used to manage the tilted kill here.
All right.
Okay. That guy got out of more speeding tickets than anyone I ever knew, and it's because he has a good personality.
It's
right.
Well, he was getting pulled over originally because he was black.
No, he
and
wasn't. He was getting pulled over because he was going 10 miles an hour over the limit.
I go 10 over all the time.
Yeah, and I get pulled over for it.
I've been pulled over in 4 years.
Okay, but that doesn't mean anything, Steve. It could have to do with the car that you're driving. Chris is
so
more likely to get pulled over just because he drives a red car.
I don't, but
But that doesn't mean you're not more like. That's the statistic,
Okay,
though.
so if we want to talk stats, black people are more likely to get pulled over per capita. Per black person, black people get pulled over more.
That might be true. I don't know.
No, it's hard to say how accurate, how much we can use that statistic too, because black communities tend to be targeted by police as well.
Exactly.
So they're going to be there and they're going to see them more, sort of thing. So
The argument for that is that a lot of these communities that you're talking about,
they're poor communities.
they're poor communities. Yeah, and it's not necessarily just that. And poor communities tend to need more policing.
Yeah, but they're not
just
pulling
because
over the
of
white people. That's what I'm saying.
Because of what happens is that
Policing doesn't help, though.
No, I agree. I agree. But there's more crime there usually.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I would just that's the result.
But
of
when
poverty.
we look at the statistics of these poor neighborhoods, and we look at just per capita of the group, right? So we're just going to look at, we have 100 black people. How many of them got pulled over? We have 100 white people. How many of them got pulled over? The number is far greater for the black people. And we're looking at just the black population. So it's not that they have more people, because we're doing it based on a ratio, the percentage. More of them are getting pulled over.
So
Why?
A specific example of this happening anyway. So white people and black people smoke marijuana about the same rate, but black people get arrested for it at 4 times the rate.
Yes.
Arrested. Okay. Well, they get arrested for it or cited.
Arrested for it.
Okay, because I have plenty of friends that have been cited for it.
Yeah,
But
that's the statistic.
there's also per capita,
All right.
black people tend to be a little bit less wealthy than other races, right? And that there's a couple of factors into that. Okay, there's a lot of factors, and not all of it is systemic racism. A lot of it has to do with culture. A lot of it has to do with there's a lot. I think it's 70% of parenthood in black communities is single mother parenthood.
That's the result of poverty. Not the cause of poverty.
How is that the result of poverty?
Because that's what tends to happen in poverty-stricken families.
Yeah, I don't think they intentionally go, oh, let's fuck ourselves up and hate ourselves.
That's not a white-black thing. That's not a culture thing. That's just, you look around the world, that happens in every poverty-stricken community.
But why are they in poverty?
Because they're not getting married.
No,
think of it. If you have a
they're already poverty.
If you have a
stricken.
2-parent household, another thing is that they're incentivized to stay there, and a lot of that has to do with welfare. Welfare. The more kids you have, and if you're a single parent, right, you get more money, and there's an incentive to stay there.
That's actually a separate issue, I would say. To a certain degree.
Yeah, but white people could do the same shit, man. Why aren't we doing it?
Yeah, but most of that goes back to, first of all, obviously you have a hard start coming right out of slavery, and there hasn't been that much time since then for communities in general to have succeeded. But then you had the creation of the ghettos, the projects.
Yeah, but we got to keep in mind the government and how they pushed that agenda.
Yes, yeah.
But they pushed it because of society's view of black people. So the government answered to the people and said, "Okay, we'll do this."
And also, so the creation of the suburbs, for example, where black people were not even.
I think you and I talked about this, didn't we?
They were not even allowed to
get a loan to move in there.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that white people did get these great advantages over them.
Yep.
Just in general, and that's why we're so, in general, more successful.
One could argue, though, that there's a lot of those things. Tons of different minority groups that maybe even aren't considered minority groups anymore, like the Italians, the Irish, the Chinese, right? They received similar discrimination at the time that they came over here. They received similar treatment, but they've thrived.
Yeah, but I don't think they got the same treatment. Chinese people were brought over here because they're smart. They were
That's
intelligent.
No, they brought over here to work on the railroads.
Railroads.
Yeah.
No, to some degree, you're right. But there's also
And now the Chinese, and it's worth pointing out that the Chinese or Asians in general have surpassed any other race or culture as far as wealth, success, privilege that people like to bring up. See, I don't think
they're actually the ones most hurt by affirmative action.
Yes, exactly. That's another thing too. Is like they bring up. Let's talk about white privilege now, since we're pretty much there. Like, there's so many things that is not a privilege. Like the affirmative action, like you were just talking about. Okay, that's a black privilege. Black people also get points added to their SAT scores.
No, everybody has privileges.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
everybody has privileges to some degree. The point of what they're talking about.
Why it keeps doing that? I have it on Don't Sleep.
A woman with big boobs has privileges. There are certain things.
Is that a privilege?
Well, it gives her privileges in the way that she can get away with a lot more than me.
So I want to,
but what they're talking about with white privilege is if I am in an argument with a black person and you just walk up to it, your natural inclination is going to be that I'm probably in the right and he's probably in the wrong. They do not get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
It's something that happens instinctually. It's our tribalistic instinct.
Okay.
It obviously
black people do that too, though.
Stupid.
I see it a lot more with them too. They'll take the black person's side. Yeah. Like I do see that a lot. I tend to go with the underdog personally.
Well, there are outliers, obviously.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not saying that doesn't happen in black communities either, as well. But the truth of the matter is that most of the people in this country are white, so the white people are going to get the benefit of the doubt most of the time.
Did you say that's true?
What? That most people in the country are white? Yeah, that's not.
Oh, damn it! I thought he said that's true to the second part. I was like, I'm done. I can go home now. So one thing I want to say about white privilege is I don't think it's my fault. I really want to put that out there. As a white person in the United States today, white male.
There's a huge, and jumping on that, there's a huge problem with the term.
Yeah, I think the term is kind of bad. It doesn't set the right precedence or like the tone of what's going on.
I think the term is used in the wrong way.
Yeah, we talked about this.
The term says what it is. Privilege is not an insult. If you have privilege, it's not necessarily.
It can be, absolutely, it can be.
It's used that way sometimes, and I think that's the problem.
Well, and they're spinning it that way.
Yes.
So it's not. I think we can all agree it's not our fault. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've never intentionally gone out of my way to diminish the success of a fellow a fellow American who happens to be black. I've never done anything ever to try and discriminate, hate, make their lives more difficult. So I want to be very clear.
You're drinking your water, Steve, since you haven't opened it.
I didn't open it? What water was I drinking?
Your own.
You were drinking
okay.
That.
And that. Do we all agree on that piece?
Yeah.
That what is happening in today's society is not a direct result of what we've contributed thus far in our lives.
Way to peek the mic with your clap there.
Did I clap?
You were like...
Yeah, also with your laugh. But,
yeah, there you go.
Oh, sorry.
But, oh man, totally lost it.
Well, so saying that...
Yeah, matter of fact.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's not my fault. I have participated in it, at least when I was young.
Oh, I benefited from it
because not just I've helped to make it worse, just because there have been plenty of situations where I gave the benefit of the doubt to the wrong person, based entirely on just that instinct.
Right.
Now that I'm more aware of it, I like to think I don't do that.
I love that you use that word.
Yeah.
Aware.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's a part of my instinct.
Right.
is that I'm going to automatically do that.
And that's not a bad thing. That's natural.
I have to smack my head and be like, wait a minute, wake up. You have no reason to have given this person the benefit of the doubt over this person. Listen to both sides, sort of thing.
Right, and it's not bad. That's the human instinct, and I really want to key on that. Yeah. That's us naturally looking at a situation and evaluating risk. It's our brain doing it automatically, and we're very unaware of it. And I like that you said the word aware. You have to be aware of what your instinctive reactions are.
I think a lot of our instincts are stupid, and we have to be aware of it.
I think that human beings are so much more complicated than their race and their gender.
Yes.
And I think that boiling them down to just that is not productive at all.
I agree.
And I think that
I wish we all thought that way.
Yeah, and I think that who's to say who's more privileged than someone else?
Me.
Because No, because you don't know that person's experience. You don't know what that person has gone through. You don't know where they started, and you don't know how they got to where they are now.
Every individual is an individual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the important thing, right? Mm-hmm. Is that maybe Steve would even agree with this, is as a society, maybe we need to stop looking at each other based off of those things and just start. I mean, this is what I personally do. This is my own philosophy that I'm talking right now. And maybe just look at somebody as a person and judge them off of that.
Let's do it.
Okay? And judge them off of how they act, their decisions. Yeah. Let's judge them off of their behaviors instead of the things that
the problem comes
they
in.
Can't control.
Yeah. The problem comes in there is where the instinct kicks in. And so, and by the way, it doesn't even happen to... So if you grow up in a community where there's, a bunch of black people, a bunch of Indian people, a bunch of Asians, whatever, then as you grow up, you don't even have that instinct towards other races, generally speaking. Because every race has been a part of your community for your entire life. And so they're a part of your tribe, if you will. Whereas I grew up in white country, we had one black guy in our class, and
me too. But that doesn't mean I treated them differently.
No,
now she's making $3 an hour, has to support her 2 kids at home. Like maybe that's where. Well,
let's be clear.
There's a lot of.
Let's be clear.
There's a lot of
the minimum wage laws for for waitresses. If they don't hit minimum wage with tips, the company has to pay them minimum wage.
Is that I wasn't aware of that, but
so if your minimum wage is $3.50,
that's not enough, man. Typically, servers make a lot more.
Essentially, the way to fix this is we all stop tipping waitresses.
Yeah. Yes. No, I agree 100%.
No,
we are the only country that does this shit.
So what? That's good. That makes for a polite society, doesn't it? Isn't that a good thing to appreciate, like good service? I think absolutely that's a good thing.
It's one of the reasons I hate going out to eat.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I
think corporations in the United States need to own up to the salary of the employee. They need to pay them a little bit more. And that money's going to come instead of from a tip. It's going to be put into the bill.
If you take that away, then you lose the ability to get good service. Because then if the company is forced to pay these people higher salaries, you're going to end up paying for it either way. It's going to come out of your purchase. It's going to come out of your meal. And then whether that person gave you good service, if they were a complete asshole to you, didn't take good care of you at all, then there's no repercussion for that.
Well, that's why I think we still need to have gratuity, but I don't think we need to have it to the degree that we have it in the United States. It's gotten so far, so much, that these companies can now lean on the fact that they can pay them half of the state's minimum wage and say, oh, if you make the rest in tips, you're good. It's on you. I have a problem with that.
Well, there's also the difference that you can still get the good service if you go to the place that pays their employees more.
True.
So for example,
I don't know if that's true.
McDonald's, I don't get very good service there.
I don't think that's true. I don't necessarily believe that. And plus, it's so difficult to fire people these days. Yeah. That
you can demand more out of your employees if you're paying them more, though.
You can. That's very true.
That doesn't mean that they're gonna act on it. I mean, like, at what point do you give a shit if you have the people coming in? At what point does the service matter? The public opinion thing is an argument, but I think that
is what brings in.
I think that if you do that, you're gonna limit what people make a lot, because servers, there's plenty of servers that do very well, and it's because of the tips. There's plenty of servers that make $500, $600, $700 a week in tips if you work at the right restaurant, and if you take that away from them, and then the restaurant can pay them $10 an hour instead of possibly the $18 or $20 that they were making before.
That's what I'm saying. Really hurting. Don't get rid of it. I'm not saying to get rid of it.
That's so complicated. That's
my problem is that the corporation is leaning on the fact that the consumer is going to pay their wage.
What's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't think there should be a minimum wage in the first place.
I think corporations should pay a rightful wage to their employees without government oversight.
I
agree
that
100%.
Labor should be a commodity, and it should be something that, or not? Is it a commodity that I mean? Labor should be a capital. I think that's what I mean. It's just it's something a business good. It should be some part of the demand supply curve, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and so it should be it should be, the more quality worker you are, the higher you get paid. That's what I think.
Yeah, but do we have that
But
going on right
if
now?
you don't have a minimum wage, then the bottom starts at $1 an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
But if you have it,
if you're awesome at it, then you get a wonderful.
Chris, you and I have been in this discussion before, I believe, and something that I can't remember your argument, and maybe you can help me. But it was something like, well, if you can't pay them, then you're not doing good enough in your business, and you should go out of business.
No,
but
to some degree. No, to be fair, if we're talking about an increase in minimum wage, there's a lot of stipulations you have to do for like small businesses and that thing, because I don't want them crushed by it.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to have the ability to benefit from the increase before they have to pay their employees, $15 an hour or whatever it is. But what I'm talking about is the competition aspect of it. In that if McDonald's is able to pay their employees just $1 an hour, well then
nobody would work there.
I believe if you drop the bottom, people would still work there.
You're going to find somebody who's more desperate. You're always going to find somebody
There's going to be desperate people.
So it's not going to immediately drop down to 1, but it will
slowly
go
So
down.
this person that's more desperate, were they able to find a job before?
Well, not.
So they had no income before, and now they have some. I think that's an improvement.
No, so let's say someone's working in another place and they get fired, they leave, they want to change their career, or they move and they have to find a new job because their parents they need to go live with their parents now because they're having health issues or some shit like that. For whatever reason, they're moving and they find this job, and this place is like, hey, we're at the bottom now, so we're gonna pay you $1, and he has nowhere else to go. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the skills that he can apply on a job that he's going to get paid more for. So he's going to get screwed at the bottom.
I don't think anyone would take a job that they can't necessarily
live off of.
Right.
There's plenty of people who are doing that right now in America. Working 2-3 jobs, some people just to survive.
And how many? Okay, and how
you were
many
a collector.
Of those people,
you talk to those
people.
people.
How many of those people made decisions that probably weren't very good beforehand? That now that's why they need to work these 2 to 3 jobs.
So we punish them for the rest of their lives.
Who says it's for the rest of your life?
Here's the thing. I didn't want to go too far away from my original point on the competition aspect. The lower the bar is on the bottom, the lower the bar is for everybody. The minimum wage is the standard by which everybody else is based on. Because if McDonald's is paying $1 an hour, then the next business up is going to do 2. But if McDonald's is doing 15, then the next business is going to do 16, 17.
And then inflation, and then I mean that.
So let's talk about this then.
There's plenty of businesses that can't afford to pay $15. What if you're only producing
bullshit?
What if you're only producing $12 worth an hour?
Well, he's probably talking about small businesses.
Then get out of business. You're not making money.
That's ridiculous, Steve. That's absolutely asinine.
No, to some degree, to some degree, I do agree. If you can't pay your employees the living wage, then I don't care about your business.
Yeah, don't Walmart my fellow community people. Sorry.
I disagree completely.
You have to raise the bar, and you have to, for small businesses, you have to do it slowly so that they can keep up. Because if you do that to a small business right away, it will crush them, a lot of them.
One of your favorite countries, and that you mention all the time, is Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Do you realize that a lot of those countries don't have a minimum wage?
Well, a lot of them have really strong unions, that kind of thing.
They also have insanely high tax rates.
So I think Denmark, you have $22 an hour if you work at McDonald's.
And they also have insanely high taxes. Most families in those countries only have one car.
Yeah.
They don't live the life that we do. Not everybody has a car over there. That's probably like 1 to 5.
Yeah, but are you living a good life in the United States?
You pay 200% taxes on a car over there.
Yeah, but are you living a good life if you can't pay your medical bills?
Anybody that lives in those countries that come over here does 55% better.
I'll need stats on that one.
What?
Who came over here and got 55% better?
From those countries that I just named.
It's
because they come
with
from
an education that they got for free.
Exactly.
That's why.
It's because of a culture that is hardworking and driven.
It's because of a culture that is about the society.
Come over here where you have more opportunity, you have more freedom. I fucking hate this goddamn computer. I'm sleeping all the time. You have more opportunity, you have more freedom, and you have more ability to succeed and make it to the next level.
Why?
You tell me.
He just said it.
they're coming over with skills and education that most Americans don't have because they got it in their country. Yeah. And on top of that, there is some degree of the working hard, because if you're moving to a new place and you're trying to make it, you're going to be the type of person who's going to be a hard worker, that kind of thing.
But you can't do that unless you have the knowledge or you have the skills.
Sure you can.
Or the ability. Sure, I disagree 100%.
My girlfriend's dad is a millionaire, and he has absolutely no education. He came over here, had to teach himself English. He barely can speak it. He taught himself how to read, and he has made quite a lot of money. That's good. Has over $1 million, has zero education. He worked as an acrobat for his entire childhood. No education. So he's a
great example of being driven and coming over here and taking advantage of the American dream.
And so I think that education thing that doesn't fly with me, because that's anecdotal stuff too. This is an anecdote.
I think it's a huge contributor. Absolutely huge. You can't even come to the United States from this country unless you have some type of benefit that you're going to bring to the country. You can't even come over here. If you're just some Joe on the road that's like, yeah, I want to come over to the United States, they're like, fuck no, get out of here. You want to come work here?
At all. There's plenty of people.
You can't just come over to the United States just to fuck around.
We allow it so much, it's ridiculous.
You have to have some type of income, some way to support yourself. You have to be able to prove that you are going to contribute to society. You can't just come over here.
But plenty of people do it
because they can get a job.
No,
they have a degree.
Like, how many? Why are they building a fence down south?
Because they're just running across the border because they don't have an education. They don't have money. They don't have a means to support themselves. They don't know English. They have all of these disadvantages that disqualify them from legally crossing the border. So they're just running across.
Right.
I disagree with that. I don't think they should. Mm-hmm. We need to fix that. That's a problem down there. But
a wall is not going to work.
I don't think a wall is going to work.
Well, I'm interested in why you think that. Because I'm open to it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, I want to go back to the minimum wage. Can we talk about that really quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
One thing that I've talked a lot about, and if my friends watch this and whatnot, they'll know what I'm about to say. I am more of a fan of a maximum wage than I am of that of a minimum wage.
Ooh.
See Dante's face. This is good.
No,
all right. No. So hear me out. In the 60s and the 70s, it would take 30 employees, salaried employees, to make one corporate
CEO.
Officer. Yeah. No, and it could be the CIO or any of the officers. Yeah. It would make up one. So 1 to 30 was the ratio in the 60s and the 70s. What do you think that ratio is now?
It's like 500 some odd.
And how many more employees?
500 to what?
How many more people does that CEO? How many more people does that CEO employ now than compared to those people?
That's why we're using a rate, because
rate?
Yeah, rate 1 to 500, 1 to 30.
Okay.
Because if you have more employees, then who the fuck cares? The rate stays consistent, right?
Okay, and I believe I've heard the statistic that if you took the CEO of Walmart and divided his salary amongst every single Walmart employee,
$1 billion salary.
Okay, yeah. His $1 billion salary. If you divide it up amongst every single Walmart employee that there is, every single employee would get an extra $40 a year.
Great. How many officers does Walmart have?
What?
How many officers does Walmart have?
I don't know.
Let's see how many $40 we can get to people. Oh, and fuck, if that's
US
dollars.
How does that do anything?
If that's US dollars, let's go throw that into India. So the people over in India, $40, 65 rupees to the dollar. They're now living a luxurious life. That's incredible. Let's do it.
Why are you throwing it to India?
Oh, because I'm trying to say that $40 just in the United States may not be a lot. Walmart is across the globe. That $40 may actually be worth something more in another country.
I'm not talking a week. I'm talking about a year.
Yeah,
$40
I understand
a
that.
year.
40 times 65 in India is going to be something. You can do something with that. That's a month's rent. That's maybe 2 months' rent. That's huge.
Okay, but it's not here.
Oh, I don't care. It's around the world. That concept still rings true. 1 to 30, 1 to 500. Why is that happening? Why are we doing that? Why are we condoning that behavior? Why are we
because they were able to put together...
Wait. Listen here. Why? As the 99% of the population, are we putting up with less than 1% of the population holding all the power in the world? And we sit here and we fight about a minimum wage and seeing what we can do to raise the bottom when the problem is the top. Why are these people making billions of dollars when we have people in the United States dying because they can't get health care? They can't get an education. They can't find housing. They have to live with their family. But again, we have these billionaires with all the money that they need for the rest of their life, for the next generation of their kids, the generation after that. Look at the Disney family. They're banking in on money that was made 40, 50, 60 years ago, and they're still turning through it. That's the problem. The problem isn't that we have people that are trying to ask for $15 an hour. The problem is we have greedy CEOs that are making billions and billions of dollars off the backs of hardworking Americans. That is what really pisses me off.
How much has the quality of life of everyone improved from those time periods?
How do you measure it?
Well, look,
If
everybody
you work-
has
if you're working 2-3
has
jobs.
a mobile computer in their pocket.
And if you're working 2-3 jobs, what the fuck is the point of that?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So I'm not
What's
going to
the
just,
point of that?
Dante's saying that they're misspending their money. I think right now in the United States we have a big
I'm
problem.
not
with
saying
people-
that. No. I'm saying that you have things that you didn't have before. Your quality of life is a lot better. If you're lost, you can pull out your phone.
Oh,
and
no,
you know where
your
you
quality
are.
of life isn't better.
It
And
is
here's
better.
why. It's
No,
what
it's
you
not.
just said. If you are a male in the 60s and the 70s, you could be the breadwinner of the family and your wife could stay at home and your kids would have a great education. They would be able to go to college. You would be able to pay your health insurance. You would be able to do everything. And your wife didn't have to work.
Mm-hmm.
Today, that is false. The wife works. The husband works. In some cases,
Wouldn't you-
they're working
Couldn't
2,
you
3
argue-
jobs.
Couldn't you argue that when I was saying earlier that the labor is a commodity? I can't remember the actual word that I'm supposed to use here. But that you've
But it's
essentially
not a
doubled the
commodity.
workforce. But you've doubled the workforce, and so therefore the supply has gone up, and therefore the
So you're going to
demand-
tell me the supply. So
Demand
you're going to
drives
say that.
supply, not the other way around.
So you're going to tell me that just because we have more people in the workforce,
Okay,
we can
the-
start paying
the
our
demand
CEOs.
has gone down. Then that's what I meant. The demand has
Why?
gone down.
people don't have money. That's why the demand's gone down.
No, the demand would go up if people had money. They want jobs.
Yes, that's why when you see these places that have increased the minimum wage, their economies are getting better.
Okay,
Because
let me
their money is
let me make a
circulating
metaphor
more.
here because
Yeah.
we're on a different page. Okay, if you're
Circulating the money.
making a
Yes.
product, if you're making a product
Okay.
and you have a lot of it, you sell it for a cheaper amount.
Right.
Right? So the women's rights movement, the women that decided that they want to go and work, they've effectively doubled how many people are in the workforce. So the price of labor has gone down. Okay? So maybe they're making less because there's more workers. So maybe I'm not advocating that this needs to happen, okay? I'm just trying to explain possibly
yeah,
why
let's
it
hear it.
did. So that maybe if women were taken out of the workforce, the demand for labor would go up.
Simply
Or-
because the volume of people went
Right,
down.
because and so that maybe if that situation were to happen, then maybe people would get paid more, and that could occur again.
I don't think so, because these companies they're all after the same goal. I want to give my shareholders money, and I know that if I offer an analyst job at $30,000 a year, some dumbass is going to take it. Somebody will take it. I don't have to worry about it. Even if there's only one job opening and 50 candidates, someone will take it. Or if it's the flip, if there's 50 job openings and one candidate, all the jobs are posting at $30,000 a year. So we're not going to do anything. I'm not going to pay him $32 to get him to come work here. Everyone else is doing.
Well,
30.
you will if there isn't a lot of people in the workforce. You will if you need somebody in that position, and there's not that many people in the workforce, and you need somebody to fill that position.
If you need someone to fill the position.
And you need to make it more attractive for somebody to get there, because let's say, well, there's this other job that somebody's offering that they want $45,000 a year, and it's the same position.
So let me ask this:
So obviously-
why does supply and demand have to drive whether or not we pay our employees a fair wage? Why can't we just do it?
I didn't say that. I said I'm trying to explain why that may have happened, and it's because there's twice as many people in the workforce. And if you look as labor as a commodity, as a good, right, as something that companies need, just like a steel company needs iron import or whatever. I don't know how to make steel, but you get my point. They need this product, and if there's less of it, the price is going to be higher, and if there's more of it, the price is going to be less. And so the same thing applies to labor.
Yeah,
if
but
there's
why are we
way
gonna
more
do that,
people in
though?
the workforce, I'm not saying we got to do anything, Steve. I'm just trying to explain why the one person could do the breadwinning before, and now they can't.
It's because CEOs are taking the money. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
That may actually be one aspect of it. I don't think it's the only one. But regardless, I don't think that should, because something happened, that therefore that should base how we act in regards to it, how we react to it, if you will. We can still act differently. even if something caused something. Does that make sense?
Right. No. And like I said, I wasn't trying to say that women need to stay home and be mothers. I'm just saying maybe this is why that has happened. That's all I'm saying. And maybe this is why it's harder to be a single parent. Because there's just the workforce, there's more people in it. There's twice as many, at least, right?
Yeah, but if there's more people in the workforce, I don't need more people in my corporation.
Well, how did we get here from white privilege?
I don't know. We realized we were white guys talking about black people.
Yeah.
And we moved on.
Yeah, I think that's probably
to money.
Yeah, I think that's probably good. But back to white privilege. There was something that I heard that male privilege too. That was something that Andrew was advocating for.
Yeah.
And he's not here to argue it, so maybe we won't get into it. But
what was it?
So Andrew's argument is that it's just male privilege. That male has
not just male. It was white male.
White male. That they I mean it's what we talked about. They have the privilege. But me personally, I believe that white people have, specifically white males, have a better advantage than other people in the United States. I'm not saying it's my fault or our fault, anybody's fault, but I try my best to be aware and work through those primal instincts that I have.
I think there's plenty of advantages that black people have that are mandated by law.
We're trying to help.
They're trying to help, and I don't know if that's the right way to do it.
I agree. I think as a society, we just need to be aware, and let's all kumbaya that shit, man. Let's just kumbaya.
I'm fine with that. I think that race needs to be taken out of it.
Yeah, people suck.
I think that race, gender, everything needs to be taken out of the equation. I think that people need to be treated as individuals.
So when it comes to affirmative action, for example, I'm in favor of affirmative action, but I think it should be tied more to poverty as opposed to race.
So help me understand this affirmative
fair.
action. I'm
I'm
not familiar with this in lives.
Affirmative action? You don't know what that means?
I think I do, but I don't know.
It's a law that states that you have to have so many. It's diversity law. It's a law that says you have to have so many black people working for your company.
Okay.
And then you have to have so many black people at your university. You have to black people get I think it's a 200-point boost on their SAT or ACT.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And
Asians
Asians get the opposite. Asians get a 200-point doc.
Really?
That's fact.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah, it's I mean, kind of oversimplifying it, but yeah, that's
okay.
In general, yes.
Yeah, it's a lot harder for an Asian person to get into a university, a good university, even when they've put in the work and the time and the dedication. No, it's bullshit, dude. And I think it's bullshit for the reverse too. I think if you want equality, okay, if that's your goal, then we need to start treating everyone the same. Like, you don't get it.
Well, I don't think we can just start out treating everyone the same. I think
you can.
African Americans are at a disadvantage right now. We need to bring that community and that society up. Then we can do what you're talking about.
But don't you do that by treating them the same? Don't you do that by treating them the same?
Are we?
You can't force people. Okay, if somebody doesn't want to work hard, you can't force them to do it. Okay, so my point with that is that they need to bring themselves up. Okay, the opportunity needs to be there. They need to be treated fairly.
Right.
But you can't boost that. That's not possible, because if they don't want to, you can't make that happen. You can't just will that to happen. It has to be internal.
So my contribution
and that's another
to that.
thing. Let me get back to white privilege. Is white privilege as
we're already talking about it.
What?
We are talking about it right now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But let me just bring back the term.
To what we're already talking
let me get back to what we're already talking about. But let me get back to that, is that social justice, and white privilege is a part of social justice, is a regressive ideology. Okay? Social justice, instead of trying to elevate other communities, it's trying to punish the ones that are already elevated. And that's how they're trying to lead. The term in itself, social justice, what is justice? What is it? It's punishing the people that have done wrong, so to speak. Okay, that's justice. You don't justice people and give them benefits.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to say like that white privilege is to diminish the ability of a white person to do something. Rather, it's to embellish and encourage the ability of a black person to do something. And it's through this. Yeah, it's this concept of
the term is,
I agree.
In
I don't
itself,
like the term.
this
I'm so
but
over
this is actually my problem with affirmative action as it is, because right now we're arguing about it because it's based on race. Whereas if we based it on poverty, then you would still be helping the people who need to be helped.
Yeah.
Along with you have more people, because there's plenty of white people that also need it, and you wouldn't have this argument about
that one right
about
there.
race.
There you go. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. But that's why I think by tying affirmative action to race, I think nowadays it's actually become counterproductive, even though it was beneficial.
I can get behind this. Yeah, let's get it behind statistically the people that need the help,
Right,
not
exactly.
a race, because there are African Americans that do extremely well. There are Asians that do extremely well, and it would make no sense.
There are Asians that are really poor too.
Right.
It wouldn't be fair to
There's
dock their
less.
points.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be fair to dock their
Yeah.
points. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I like this. I really like this. If we all agree on having a better society, which I think we do, right?
Everybody wants that. I think.
Then I think we need to use the statistics and understand where are the people that need the help and what can we do to help them.
All right, new rule, America. We're tying affirmative action to poverty from now on.
Yep.
I think that's probably better.
We'll start this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think that's a good point. Should we pause?
Well, one thing I want
Oh,
to mention.
Hang on. We'll pause.
No,
All right, we're back. So I'm sorry, I don't remember where we were. Do you guys remember?
We were talking about white privilege.
White privilege.
Yeah, white privilege.
Okay, I think we've sorted white privilege out possibly.
But
So
it's
do you
act-
agree
it's
that
actually,
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean,
So do we convince you?
well, here's the thing, okay? Is it kind of goes back to what I was saying is like if somebody doesn't want to work hard or isn't motivated or is comfortable where they are, you can't elevate them.
Oh, that's the last thing we were talking about. We were talking about changing affirmative action to
Right, but let me
poverty.
go back to that. Is like maybe these people that you're trying to give these benefits to don't deserve them. And what I mean by that is like they're not motivated to even want to go up. You know what I mean?
So,
And
for
like-
Agreed,
example,
yeah.
so getting into
And so-
college, you still have to show that you're willing to do the work. It's not something that you don't automatically. You can't be at the bottom of your class and they just all right, go to the university. You have to show that you are willing to do the work. The problem comes in is that in a poorer area, you're going to get a poorer education. This is you're going to have worse teachers. You're going to have less materials, and so they need that boost because they didn't have the opportunities to learn to the same degree that a rich kid did, basically in a rich community.
Well, to that point, we talked about the urbanization, how white communities were moving out into the suburbs, and the black communities were left in the inner cities. And if you look at the education time, over year, you can see that city education has just been deteriorating nonstop. But then if you look at suburb education, it's on its way up. So we're out the door fucking these people. They're coming out of the womb, going to our state-sponsored schools, and just getting fucked intellectually right off the rip. And then they're going to be held to the same standard as the white kid living in that other neighborhood who's going to a school that has lots of money because the school is pulling money from property taxes and they live in the suburbs. So these houses are worth way more than these inner city houses. And there's more money to go around, more education, more knowledge, and they have a better advantage.
Let me pose this question. This isn't from necessarily any sort of stance, but what if we start doing this? What is the incentive to get ahead in the first place?
Well, the incentive is still to be successful, ultimately.
But okay, why do people, let me go a little deeper. Why do people want to be successful?
Well, okay, wait, you're talking culture issues is what you're
No,
referring to.
I'm not actually specifically referring to any specific issue. What I'm trying to get at is if people are going to be leveled or put on a level playing field, what is the point of trying to elevate yourself? Because for me, right, what success means to probably me and many other people is being able to provide for your family.
Yeah.
Being able to put a roof over their head, being able to get them a lot of things that they want, maybe not everything, but so what's the point of doing that if there's no real reward, if it doesn't get you ahead, if it doesn't get you ahead,
I think it still does.
Like, what's the point of trying to get ahead if everyone that's below is going to be gifted these things anyway.
I think all the people of the white privilege agenda are trying to say is let's just start the race all at the start line. Let's all start at the starting line. Because right now
But that takes away the point of trying to win the race in the first place.
No, after that, go ahead and run. And whoever's faster, smarter, more intellectual, they're going to win.
But if you want to send your kid, if you want to get your kid that superior education, get him that boost, right? Is there anything wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that, but we need to make sure that we're all starting at the same line.
But you're not, though, because you worked. No, hang on, let me finish. You worked and you tried to get this to this point, and you really busted your ass, and got yourself in this position to where you can send your kid to a better school, to a school that has more resources and all of that.
Your kid is still going to have the advantage because your kid is still going to have the better education, so they're still going to have a better opportunity.
But he's saying let's start everybody at the same line, and so those are two contradictory.
So let me do this analogy real quick. So let's talk about a race. Life is a race. When we come out of the womb, we're starting the race. Okay, if you are a white person, you are starting. Let's say we're doing a 100-yard dash, right?
I don't believe
You're starting at the 20-yard line. And every other person, the black people, they're starting at the 0-yard line.
You're completely.
So when it says ready, set, go into the real world, go get a college degree.
You're completely going against what we established before. Is let's base it off of poverty, which I could kind of get behind.
So statistically, more black people are in poverty-stricken situations.
Mm-hmm. Statistically, more black people are also more athletic than white people.
Well, yeah, we bred them in the 1700s. Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay,
we killed the weak ones.
Okay, but my point is that that's not an advantage. I'm less likely as a white person to get millions of dollars and play in the NBA. Is that a problem?
That's a part of your genetics. It has nothing to do with society's interpretation of who you are as a person.
Okay, but we're talking about the ability to succeed.
Yeah, but we're talking about whether or not I'm going to give a white person or a black person the opportunity based on intellectual knowledge, not on how tall you are.
Are you telling me that black people can't be smart?
No, they can.
Well,
and they are, but people aren't using that.
Because here's where the issue is on this. Okay, so you give your kid the great education, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Your kid has that education. Your kid can use that education.
So they start at the 10-yard line.
Now the black person, let's say, growing up in the poverty-stricken community, got this education, which is...
Why does he got to be black, Chris?
Yeah, because I'm racist.
Hey, you're too loud.
Yeah, I know. It's all right. I clapped, too. Look at that. That's nice.
but anyways, I said, let's say it's a black kid. Mm-hmm. But anyways, you have the one kid with the great education. You have the black kid. He only had the opportunity to even get this kind of education. Mm-hmm. What we're saying is, now, this person is almost certainly going to wind up in this university. But let's also give this person the ability to go to that university because he's tried hard and he's done what he could with what he got. Now this guy, okay, he has an advantage because he's already way ahead. But this person now has the opportunity to catch up to him and to try to exceed.
Yeah, I have nothing. There's nothing.
But I don't want to
against that. But what's your system of measurement? No, what's your system of like who's to say whether he tried hard or not? You know, and I'm not saying that he didn't, but.
Well, like a 4.0 average in a very poor school does not mean the same thing as a 4.0 average in a rich community, because that rich community that's going to mean a lot more. There's going to be a lot more education behind that. So you still have similar measurements. Like how much is this person doing, on committees and that kind of thing. You still have the same measurements, but because this person was in a poverty-stricken community, it means less simply because he got less out of it.
So what you're saying is that similarly, like a university has a reputation, like Harvard, for instance, like it's a very prestigious school, and versus Kent. Like obviously Kent has a. So you're comparing that maybe on like a high school level, like well this person's from this community and this person's from this other community.
That's where you start, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm still failing to grasp your point.
So the point is it actually, to use his analogy a little bit, the rich kid is starting, at the 100-yard line or whatever it is, or the
10-yard line.
The 10-yard line, whatever it is. I'm gonna say 50. Okay.
There we go. He's white. He's 50.
Right? Yeah. Okay. But and then the other person's starting at the 1-yard line. Okay. And the point is, this person, if we unless we lower the standards for people in that situation, none of them are ever going to get out of there. None of them are ever.
I disagree. I think
I'm talking about.
I think they
talking
can.
about getting into the university to get that education.
They have 50 more yards to overcome, though. They have 50 more yards.
And that's fine, because I got news for you guys and everyone on the left. Life isn't fair. Okay? Life is not fair.
I agree.
I wasn't born with outstanding genetics. I'm not as pretty as other people. And I'm not as ugly as other people either. But
this doesn't create equality. This doesn't create equality.
Okay, so what are you trying to achieve?
This creates a closer version of equality of opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, so it gives these people opportunity to come up and try to.
But they already have it.
But they have to struggle.
No, they do.
Still have to struggle so much harder than the
yeah,
person.
they struggle with
and
things
it's
that you don't
because
struggle
of
with.
that person's parents, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah, but
because
why their parents
because
do
they
it?
worked hard, and necessarily, and maybe it's a ladder, right? Like maybe it, I don't know, I don't know, but I don't think that we need.
We fucked the black communities when we kept them in the ghettos because the white communities could refinance their house and get thousands of dollars and send their white kids to really expensive colleges.
Especially with the summer.
And so they could then get good jobs, get married, have kids, and continue to pay into the benefit of this awesome system. We have all the money we need. We can get the education that we need so we can get the jobs that we need. The black communities, quite the opposite. They couldn't buy houses. And if they bought a house, it was worth nothing. So when they go to sell it, there was no money left for them to send their kids to college. That's what I'm talking about in that race of life. Now they don't have that opportunity. So if they want to race in the same race that you're in, they have to work a little bit harder to get to where you're at.
Isn't that what affirmative action is for, though? Isn't that what it does?
I think that's what it's trying to do.
Yeah, it's not a perfect system.
No.
I'm not going to argue that. But what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to give a boost where it's needed, essentially, or where it's deserved.
I don't know if deserved, but where it maybe needed.
Yeah.
Because I feel like deserved is something you've earned, and I don't think it's something they didn't earn this. Quite honestly, this black kid that's born in this community, he didn't ask for it.
No, because what I'm saying is that the black kid still has to work hard to get to that university.
Right.
Still has to work hard. It's just that he doesn't have the opportunity to even come anywhere near to the education that the other person does.
So he has to work that much harder.
You give him that little boost to get him into the university, and he's going to struggle his ass off because he's starting so far behind everybody else. But if he does it, you want that person. You want that person to succeed.
I would like to see a society where we don't even have to have them struggle when they get to college. That this equality at the starting line that I keep talking about, this should happen as early as possible. I don't know what the implementation is or how it would work, but we need to bring it out as soon as possible in the life cycle of a human being. And what happens after that, I think, is competition. Whether or not you thrive based on what you've been given or not, is competition. I can take the horse to the water, but the horse has to drink it.
I don't think so, Steve. I think that's not possible.
You don't think so?
I actually agree. I don't think it's... Now, we can do better. We can get it closer. And we can certainly...
I think you need to be careful about the way you do that. I think you're heading towards socialism. And socialism leads to usually mass genocide. And I'm not...
All I'm saying is we're running a race. I think we can all agree there's a race being ran. It's to be successful, and there are individuals of specific communities.
You've said this several times, and I'm not trying to cut you
I
off, but I would like for you to establish. Hang on, I'd like for Steve to actually establish what he means by the starting line.
So the starting line, when you think of life, I would say the starting line.
Socialism.
Think of life as a race, and the goal is money and success and death, I guess.
Yeah. So everybody has to start with the same amount of money.
Not necessarily the same amount of money.
So how do you do it then?
Because we know money in India is different from money in the United States.
Right. So, but how do you do it?
And that's why I'm saying I don't know what the correct implementation is. I'm not sure what
nobody
we
does
need to do.
I don't think it's possible.
I think it's very possible. I think we could. So
then you must. If you think it's possible, you have to have an idea.
Here's some examples. We can stop institutional racism with our government.
I think that there's very little evidence to suggest that there actually is that.
I think 100% in the 60s and the 70s we fucked
But we're
black
not in the
communities.
60s. Okay, yes, but we're not.
We're
in
looking at the
those
repercussions. Those generations after those
I think
families.
we're looking at the repercussions of a leftist agenda mainstream media, and that we have, yes, absolutely, and they have brainwash the majority of people that watch that garbage, and people believe that. I even was inclined to believe it before I actually looked into it.
I disagree.
I don't think so. I think that
the fact if you were a Black American, you couldn't apply on a loan in a house in a really nice community.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
But why couldn't they apply?
Because society at the
Not
time.
because of society.
You don't
why
think so?
couldn't they apply for it? No, we talked
Yeah,
about this. What
and
did
you
you
said
tell me
it. It was
before?
the developers. The developers would buy a plot of land and say only.
Maybe we're talking about two different things. I thought you were talking about that loan where they had, like, if they paid it off early, they still had to pay the interest rate.
Oh yeah, so this is, oh my God, have you heard about this? I think it's called the 76 loan or 76 balloon loan or some shit like that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so
Say what it is.
So back in the day, the banks would take advantage of whites and blacks, but unfortunately primarily blacks, for these loans that were very ambiguous and very confusing. Now, to the dismay of the consumer, they shouldn't have actually signed up for the loan because they didn't know what they were getting into. However, the private institution knew exactly what they were doing and how they were taking advantage of the person. Sorry, I'm going above the line. And so these institutions just took full advantage. They did it with car loans. They did it with house loans. You couldn't get out of the interest at the end of the day is what it was. If you were buying a car for $10,000, $10,000 purchase price, your loan amount would immediately be, say, $17,000, even if you tried to refinance it the next day. The way that it worked is all of the interest was charged up front on the loan, and there's no way to get out of it even through a refinance. Those loans are illegal now because of the predatory lending that had happened with it. The government finally came in and was like, nope, stop it. Can't keep doing this.
So, and I brought up the point, is why were these people that applied for this specific loan denied for the other loan? Was it because of discrimination? We don't have evidence of that, right?
Well, one of the things, because I looked this up, the banks were pushing these loans.
Okay,
so
they were pushing them because they benefited the bank.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was they came to them for a product and we said, hey, we have this awesome thing for you. So I
someone
don't know.
who's a smart consumer, which I think it's important to be.
Yeah, I agree.
We
have to give them that knowledge, though, to be a smart consumer.
Yeah, and to be fair, when was this happening?
60s and 70s.
Yeah, okay, so to be fair, we have the internet now. We can. It's much easier to be a better consumer.
I'm gonna step back.
To be fair, yeah, but if it was based off of credit and it wasn't based off of some sort of discrimination, I think that's fine to do, especially as long as you're upfront with what's going on.
Agreed.
Because
they weren't, and that was part of the big litigation.
Okay, and but as far as from a free market perspective, I think that's actually a good thing.
That's
because what you're doing is offering somebody a loan, an opportunity, right, that they wouldn't have had otherwise. Because
is it really an opportunity though?
Why?
How do we gauge whether or not something's an opportunity?
Okay, so obviously this person. Hang on, let me finish. Obviously, this person is interested in a loan for something, for some reason. They're not just. Well, maybe they are, but most likely they're in it. They want to buy a house, or they want to buy a car, or they want to buy something that's expensive that they want, or maybe even start a business, right? And so if they weren't able to obtain a loan otherwise, but they have this option, it's just going to be a little bit more expensive. I see absolutely nothing wrong with that.
So let me throw this out there. Then I'm going to role play back in the day. It's 2005. Just got married and graduated college. I go to a bank. And I say, I would like to buy a $350,000 house up in Anaheim Hills.
They're going to go tell you to fuck yourself.
No. In 2005, they would have said, oh, great. What we can do is
before the bubble. Okay,
yeah. This is before the bubble. So what the banks were doing is they were saying, oh, no problem. What we'll do is we'll put you on a no-income loan, no docket loan, where we can get you in a loan that has a very small payment for the next 7 years or 3 years, depending. So that's a great opportunity, right? We see in the moment, we see that as a plus. I'm going to now get a home.
I mean, like, obviously you can read the contract.
Yeah, and you can see that in 3 years,
this is going to suck eventually, right?
In 3 years, it'll revert.
If you know how to read the legalese.
What?
If you know how to read the legalese.
Well, I'm saying these are even white people. These are white educated people that are taking a risk. What I'm trying to diffuse is the opportunity. I don't firmly believe that we were giving these black people an opportunity. We were giving them a fictitious opportunity. Hey, you can have a car, but I'm going to squeeze your turnip until it's done. There's nothing else in there. I'm going to squeeze the life out of you. I don't know if that truly was an opportunity.
Maybe not, but that has to also fall on the consumer.
But if you have an uneducated consumer, this is where I go back. We're at the race, and the legal context requires this. You have to be at the 25-yard line to understand what the fuck this legal document means. They're at the 10-yard line. They don't know what the fuck's going on. They don't. Okay, you're gonna get me a car. That's all they're hearing.
Yeah, true.
They're uninformed, uneducated consumers, and they said, "I want a car," and they're trusting these entities to give them the correct thing.
Yeah, it's wrong. Absolutely. I'm not. What I'm saying is, there definitely has to be some responsibility on the consumer.
Agreed, 100%.
There has to be. You have to know what you're getting into. I mean, like, I was tricked when I joined the army. The government fucking does this, and this is who you want to get. This is who you want to give more money. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But they told me, oh yeah, well, your what is it? Tuition assistance will cover your flight fees. Bullshit. Didn't happen. Guess
your
what?
Flight fees?
Yeah,
for
was
flying?
Yeah, I was in school for flying at the time, and my buddy told me, yeah, join the army. So the scholarship covered all the school tuition, but there's any kind of fees on their classroom, be it any kind of thing. And so yeah, they definitely lied to me. They lied to me to get me to join the army. There's the same kind of stuff going on in the government, and that's the problem, right? Is like I don't trust the government to make things better. They've failed time and time again. Think of all the wars that we've gotten into, and I'm not just talking about the foreign wars. I'm talking about the war on drugs, the war on poverty, the war on, what I mean? Like, all of that has led to mass incarceration, which then feeds into the prison industrial complex, and then also the war on poverty. When the government gets involved in something, they usually create a department. Okay, and then that department is incentivized not to solve whatever problem that they were created to solve in the first place, because if they do, guess what? You don't need that department anymore. Your job is then put on in limbo if you do actually go forth and solve the problem that you've been created to solve or hired to solve in the first place, then you're no longer needed.
Well, so help me with that.
The problem isn't that the government exists, basically. The problem is that the government doesn't represent the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I agree with that.
Is.
And you say that the government is full right. I don't believe that at all.
You think it's what?
He thinks that the government is not just, they're all right. Right? They're all right-wing people. Like, they just pander to their base.
Oh, nowadays, yeah.
I disagree with you, because I think that's been proven obviously
Except
not.
on social issues. On social issues, it's a little bit different.
Or monetary issues. The right-wing belief is small government and not high spending, but they just approved this budget that just goes over. So that can't be true.
Hang on. What I should be saying, I tend to make this mistake. It's not that they're right-wing, it's that they're corporatist. Is that they are for the corporations, not for anything else, essentially.
Yeah, they definitely cater to their special interest and not the interest of the people.
By the way, socialism and communism are not the same thing. That's been bothering me forever.
Is that what you wanted to say
yes.
earlier? I think communism is bad.
Yeah, there are many different types of socialism as well, and there are some that are where, for example, you're hyping up the military and you're hyping up the police force. Those things are terrible. But for example, providing health care, well, that's only been a positive in the countries that have done it.
Yep. And education.
But you're forcing people to buy something that they may not want, or maybe could have gotten
I'm not talking
a better
about Obamacare. That's a different story.
But it's all the same. It's all the same. You're forcing somebody into an agreement. Or into, like, you're effectively, if you want to socialize healthcare, you're going to have to tax people, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're forcing them with taxes to buy something that they maybe could have gotten better at, or something like a better off, you know what I mean? Better health insurance or healthcare by doing it on their own. Going in and
I agree, but the problem, so we look at a society, and when a society is doing well.
This has only become a recent issue. Sorry to cut you off, but so why is that?
Many decades, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's never been a topic on the ballot, though. It's never been.
1940s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
It's just a burden. You know, if you as a parent have to worry about the health insurance of your kids, and let's say you break your leg and you don't have insurance, that's a huge burden. And if you have that happen multiple times in a society, that has a hindrance on the society. You have more people that are being poverty stricken. You have more people that are struggling to pay their bills. It doesn't make the situation for those people go well.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at a society and the overall wealth of a society, I firmly believe that paying through a universal healthcare process helps eliminate the landmines that individuals are going throughout life that we know in America as medical
I think
bills.
that would absolutely bankrupt the country.
I don't think
that
so.
no, absolutely.
Other
it would.
countries
And
would have
also
gone bankrupt.
and also people talked about these death panels, right? Remember that? Like that's
bullshit.
true. That's not
No, we
bullshit.
have-
that happened
we
in
have
England.
death panels right now. You're dead.
Help me understand death panel.
Death panel. Okay, so effectively, at some point, there has to be a cost to benefit ratio, right? There has to be a point where, okay, we can throw all kinds of money at this person, but is it really worth it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if somebody's medical bills become so severe that they're like $5 million, $10 million, then at what point do you go, okay, obviously, like this is not. At what point does it become not worth it to invest in this person's medical health
Right
anymore?
now, someone who
This happened in
someone
England.
has $100,000 worth of medical bills. They're dying. We have death panels already, okay, and they're much worse, and it's based on your income right now. You see what I'm saying? If you can't afford the health care, you're gonna die. Okay, that's just the way it is.
And I'm not even talking about shit like that, man. I'm talking about a fucking
Okay,
break your
well,
leg.
where they have socialized medicine in
It's
England,
based on needs.
there was a
instead of
baby
money,
called
so more
Charlie.
people survive.
There was a baby called Charlie.
Mhm.
Okay,
I don't care about that baby.
I don't know about Charlie.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's interesting.
I can only partially remember the story. Go ahead.
okay.
What
well,
happened to Charlie?
what happened to Charlie is he became a ward of the state. The parents were not allowed to remove him from the hospital and seek health care anywhere else. Like there were plenty of other hospitals, I think even in the United States, that said, bring him here. We will help this child.
Yeah.
He was having some, but they decided that we weren't going to help him anymore. Like he was not worth trying to help.
Who?
This baby Charlie.
Okay.
I forget what his condition was.
If I remember right, he was going to be a vegetable, basically.
Okay.
I don't think that's true. I think that there was like some kind of experimental stuff that maybe they could have tried or something.
Was he a
like
vegetable in the moment?
That. I don't remember.
No, I
don't remember.
If I remember right, and we should probably look it up before talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more of a situation where it could be treated, kind of thing.
But the point is that the parents were not allowed to take him out of the hospital. The
See,
state,
we need to
the
check
state
that.
took possession of him, and they weren't allowed to try somewhere else.
See, I'm
and that,
not
but
in favor of
shouldn't.
that.
Yeah, I don't think that.
But
should
that's
be
what
there.
happens in a socialized medical system
No.
because there are
Not in
costs to
all
benefit.
types of socialized medicine. So what I propose, for example, is Medicare for all. Now, you don't actually have to change hardly any of the system. You just expand Medicare so it covers everybody. You could still have. your
Isn't
right-
Medicare like already a huge cost point on the country? So you would have to raise taxes on
It would
everyone.
still be cheaper than what we're doing now. Ultimately,
What are we doing now? You're no
we
longer
we pay
required
for
to buy
insurance.
it.
20% of our money goes to bookkeepers and insurance companies. You cut that out, you instantly save at least 18%.
I don't know, man. Anytime the government gets involved, look at student loans.
Mhm.
Look at the cost of college in the first place. Think about that.
Oh yeah.
Anytime that the college,
I'm very happy that Obama put money towards student loans and made it so people could get to college. On the flip side, though, Obama did the supply and demand inverse. He put a bunch of money.
well, it wasn't
for
Obama.
money.
This happened.
No, so in 2009, I think is when it was. Obama said it needs to be easier for students to go to college, so he made it so Parent Plus loans were available. So you go to your parents and get the loan.
I'm talking about the implementation of government loans in universities.
That's what I'm
in
saying.
the first place. No, Parent Plus is a different thing.
Well, it's government. The government put that there. And what happened is these colleges were only charging $100 for a credit hour, but then they realized, holy fuck, we have 30% more people that have money this year to come to our college. We're going to charge $120 a credit hour. The next year it happened again, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. Obama was making it even easier to get these student loans. So more people were going to colleges. And University of Akron's like, hey, we're getting a fuck ton of money right now. Let's charge a little bit more and let's can't say the fucking word. Renovate a part of the college. They spent millions of dollars on making the university look even nicer. Oh, but the next year they raised tuition again. The state of Ohio came
Couldn't
in.
this also happen in the medical field? Is my point. So,
Well,
so
yes,
you
it
see
does.
the
We
inflation
need to
of the
fight
cost
that.
because it's guaranteed.
Yes, we need to fight that though. We need to fight. In the United States, we have the highest cost out of all the countries for medical care.
I don't know how
Right
Medicare
there.
works.
That tells you.
That's the problem.
It gets cheaper when you socialize it.
What?
It gets cheaper when you socialize it. We pay twice as much as
Yes.
other countries, and we have
Yes.
worse outcomes.
Yes.
That's just the way it is.
Dude, I'll get some facts and I'll send them to you. But we pay.
Wouldn't that have to do with also there was anti-competition laws in place where insurance companies couldn't compete across state lines? So you have less competition.
BS. Yeah.
How's that BS? No,
'cause
competition
you still
reduces
have-
prices. That's a fact.
You still have the insurance companies. You're still paying people who are not providing you
Oh
healthcare.
no! So what's happening here? So medical. What's
And
happening
you
is
still have people who are trying to not give you health care because that's how they make their money. That's the insurance companies are the problem, and the only way to cut them out is, for example, Medicare for all, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but then you're putting it in the place of the government. I certainly don't trust them with
You
any.
can still have
in their
private
hands.
health, and that's the thing. Medicare, it basically is just bookkeeping.
run by
the
the-
government
yeah.
runs the bookkeeping essentially.
Yeah.
It's
So
still,
I'm
you're still
for
going to
talking
have the private
privatization
healthcare,
of
and you
that.
could still even have private health insurance. But the point is that everybody is covered if they want to be.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'd have to look into
We-
that.
we
I didn't
need
prepare
to-
for a Medicare debate, but
Well, one thing I want to talk on this one
That's
is
fair.
we have
That's
a
fair.
very big problem in the United States where corporations can lobby just as individuals to our government. And so we have the pharmaceutical companies, we have these medical companies that just lobby the fuck out of our government and make it so you can do advertisements for Cymbalta on TV. Ask your doctor about Wellbutrin.
oh yeah, that's whole shit. That's whole
and
shit.
and in no other country does this happen. My friends in India laugh at it. They're like, you Americans love
Why
your
do you
drugs.
need to? Yeah, why do you need to ask your doctor about?
Yeah,
Shouldn't your
in any
doctor
other
be
country,
asking you
exactly. That's exactly what it is. But it's all there.
Yeah, I
because,
think I might have this. Do you think you could write me a script?
Yeah,
Oh, fuck
and it's
yeah.
all because these corporations lobby our government and they get laws passed that they can do the advertisements on TV. And it's sick, it's sad, and it frustrates me.
All of that boils down to money in politics.
Yeah,
Ultimately.
we need to. Corporations shouldn't be allowed to lobby our government. I don't care about their interests in my government.
It's not just
The government represents the people, not the
No, it's
corporations.
supposed to.
And if like we can
And
talk
they
about
used
net
to.
neutrality next,
to,
I guess.
to some degree at least. They used to represent.
Yeah,
it.
maybe in like 1780.
But
Net neutrality is an example. Like a bunch of people are going, individuals are going out to the government and the FCC saying, we don't want this. We want net neutrality. We
Yeah.
want it. We want it. We want it. We want it. The FCC has ignored anything and everything that everyone
yeah.
has said.
That's true.
And the U.S. government is also ignoring it at a federal level. And here's why. AT&T, Comcast, Time Warner, all these companies, they're blowing money at your congressman. And they're not going to listen to you. They don't care what you think because AT&T is putting money into their next campaign to make sure that they get reelected. So that's where we need to cut the money funds from. I don't give a fuck what AT&T wants for the United States. It's what the employees and the people of the United States want.
we legalized bribery.
We've legalized bribery. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
I don't know, man. It's tricky, right? Because sometimes the people, or the majority of the people, I should say. Well, not only that, but like, okay, let me bring up Canada, for instance, okay? Canada, people of Toronto have a lot more people than the people that live out in the countryside, okay? There's a grizzly bear problem.
Oh, this is hilarious.
For people in
Has he told you
in-
this
I
yet?
haven't heard of it.
Oh,
There's
this
a
is
grizzly
good.
bear problem where like the grizzly bears are maybe killing their livestock, they're attacking people. Like there's a problem, right? And the people of Toronto, where they don't have a grizzly bear problem, have decided that, well, grizzly bears they're mammals and they're cuddly and they're warm and you know what I mean? And like you're not allowed to shoot them. And so the people where they don't have an issue have decided what happens around the people that do have an issue.
Yeah.
And that's a huge issue. So when you say stuff like for the people, it's like, okay, well, what people? Right? Because that's important because people are different. People that live in different areas have different problems.
Yeah, but
and
I think everyone's going to agree on net neutrality. I think a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, I'm cool for this. Seems good.
look, I'm open on net neutrality. Yeah. My main
You're the government. You're worried about the government being the surveiller, right? Is what you said.
Right. Yeah. I think my main stance is yes. I think that was probably a better thing to have, but I'm open to maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm open to that possibility. I haven't heard a good argument for it yet. I still haven't. I'm waiting on it.
For keeping net neutrality?
For getting rid of it. Getting rid of it.
Right.
I haven't heard, but I'm still open to hear that argument. I've heard plenty of people. Here's the thing.
You won't hear that argument from me.
No, I've heard plenty of people that I definitely respect their opinions of. I respect their intelligence say that this is going to be better.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard them say why. And it's been convincing for me. So because I have heard people that I respect and that their intelligence, I believe, surpasses my own.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
Please don't say Ben.
I think that I'm open to it. And so far I haven't seen anything necessarily that has been bad. So I'm definitely open to.
Wait, seen anything in regard? Are we talking about net neutrality?
Yes,
now?
we are.
Okay, so we haven't seen anything bad about net neutrality being removed yet. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Can I say?
Absolutely.
Can I argue
I'm open to that.
Okay,
argument.
so let's argue that. So one of the ones that I want to talk about is zero rating. So we're going to take this concept of data transmission on a network.
Okay.
And specifically, what we're going to be talking about is the data that's coming across it, whether let's say Hulu or Netflix. So we'll keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have a cell phone LTE device, what happens is when I stream Hulu, zero rating would allow me not to have to pay for the data that's being taken from the Hulu platform.
Can I just stop you there? Didn't net neutrality not affect cell phone providers? I'm pretty sure that that's the case. I'm pretty sure that that's only applied
not.
to. Okay.
And then in 2015 is when I'm pretty sure the Open Internet Order came out and said, whoa, this should include telecommunications specifically.
Wasn't
for
that
LTE.
around the same time that data or cell phone carriers put data caps on and got rid of their unlimited data plans?
Well, so that's a funny question that you ask because Verizon has a history of going back and forth between an unlimited data plan, and actually there's a potential for litigation because of it. They're just recently reopening the doors for unlimited data plans again, and the consumers that were forced off of their unlimited data plans back in 2012 are going, Verizon, what the fuck? 6 years ago you kicked me off this plan, and now you're reopening the plan again. So they're getting confused on. I don't want to talk about that.
Let's get into analytics. Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's get into analytics of that. Before, when they were off, this is what I've heard. Okay, so it could be wrong, could be right, but before, when when they did remove the unlimited data, everybody had unlimited data, right? That was the standard.
Not everybody. You could.
Well,
pay for
anyone
a
that wanted
package.
data, I'm pretty sure that it was either you have data or you don't, right? And it's unlimited if you do, and if you don't, you don't.
I don't.
That's what I remember.
I remember you could get like
it was
2
$30
gigs, 4
a
gigs,
month.
6 gigs.
It was $30 a month. Or what I remember is it was $30 a month for data, and it was unlimited.
Okay.
That's what I remember.
Okay.
And then Netflix and Hulu came out, and everybody's fucking streaming data, and it's costing them a fortune.
In what?
So what do you mean? In what?
In what?
In data transmission.
That costs money?
Yes.
It all costs.
Well, you have to be able to put it out.
You just have to have the infrastructure and the power to run it.
Okay,
That's
right.
all.
And so to build that, it costs money.
It's already there.
It's not already there. You have to improve it.
It was. Well, yeah, you do have to improve it. I don't doubt that. So, as a provider, your customers want more. So, if you want to stay in business, provide them more.
Okay, but what's wrong with eliminating something because it's costing you money? It's costing you more money than you used to get. What's wrong as a business is making a decision to then, and I guess this is semantics really because it doesn't matter, but then making a decision as a business we want to increase profits, right? So we're going to now charge you for data. And actually, people were grandfathered in. I had the option of being grandfathered in.
Yeah.
The problem is that if you want a new phone,
right. Well, there was a way around that one too.
Maybe there is, but my point being is that they made a business decision. I'm perfectly fine with businesses making decisions to do things. Now, here's the thing too: is there's plenty of competition. Now, the great thing is Sprint was the all-time worst cell phone carrier for a long time, and then they got somebody else in there who said, hey, what if we offer unlimited data again?
Yeah.
Now look what's happening.
Yeah, but so you start seeing these different packages.
You're having these different companies going, oh shit, people are leaving us to go to this unlimited data
But
option.
it's deceptive because Sprint originally and T-Mobile offered a package where it was unlimited for the first maybe 5 gigs. After that, you would get demoted to 3G communication.
No, and
so
Verizon does that now.
You have unlimited data, great, but you're only streaming shit at 20K a second. That's as bad as dial-up. That's not unlimited to me. That's shitty piped communication.
Well, but at least they're transparent about it.
No, they weren't.
Oh,
they weren't
okay.
transparent.
Verizon,
and
I'm
net
talking
neutrality
about Verizon.
came right in and was like, "Fuck you guys, you can't do this."
Verizon was transparent about it, and this was before even the net neutrality was repealed. But it says it when you sign up for it. It's like this is unlimited for the first, I think it was 22 gigs or so.
Shit, that's a lot.
Yeah. But after that, we're going to throttle you based off of network need or whatever like that.
Right.
And they're transparent about it. And I'm perfectly okay with that.
So I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier. You had made a comment.
I just want to mention that I just got a smartphone 3 weeks ago.
Oh, nice. Welcome to the club.
Yeah. Or not the club. I'm starting to think maybe it's not such a great thing to have a smartphone because it's just
the notifications.
The notifications, it demands your attention all the time. I just recently deleted Facebook and Twitter off of my phone. I still have the Messenger app.
Yeah.
You know, because that's a way that I communicate with people only. Like, like specifically people that are abroad mostly, but
I guess I'm abroad. He messages me on Facebook.
Well, no, we just recently exchanged numbers, but that's how it started. It's much easier. But yeah. Anyway, smartphones are the devil. Anyway, go ahead.
So let's talk about zero rating. So it's this concept of I'm going to stream Hulu's service, and as a consumer, I'm not going to be responsible for the data transmission that goes back and forth. Even though I'm causing this so-called burden on the network, I'm not going to be responsible for the Hulu data. But if I turn around and stream Netflix, I'm going to be responsible for every bit of data that gets transmitted. Net neutrality, at its core concept in the open internet order, it was meant to continue to encourage this competition in the content world, the content providing world, whether you're Facebook, YouTube, Amazon, whatever you're sending across the pipe. And when we talk about zero rating, it is in direct violation of that competition concept. And here's why. If I want to create my own cell phone carrier process tomorrow, I now not only have to compete with simply providing telecommunication to these providers or my consumers, I also have to worry about building a business relationship with a content provider and setting up an agreement where I can now stream their information without causing burden to my consumers. That does not condone competition. That eliminates competition because I have a harder market entry to overcome because of the partnership that has occurred between Hulu and this other cell phone provider. So that's one thing that's already happening today that we've been screwed on because of net neutrality being removed. I think that's what you said. Nothing's happened of it yet. Mm-hmm. It's already happening right now. Zero rating is
for which company?
So Sprint and Hulu are tag teaming, and there's other content providers.
I don't know how against that I am. On one hand, I do see what your point.
It's data. Who cares? It's a packet. Whether it's a kitty picture, a porno, whatever it is.
The big problem comes in is when the big corporation now has that advantage, and the little guy that's trying to come up can't compete.
That's why
you can't build a business.
But wouldn't you?
So this is
I'm just trying to see the other side, right? Like, sure. I'm trying to. Isn't it a similar argument for one company that has advertising and another one that doesn't?
I'm not sure I follow.
To some degree.
Isn't that kind of similar?
I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's literally impossible for you to provide the same service because you're being throttled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least on a cell phone, right? Like once you connect to Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter. So they've got you in a certain way. So maybe is there a cell phone company that provides certain benefits to being them? Like, for instance, Verizon used to, I don't know if this is the case anymore, but for sure they used to have better signal in most places, right? Mm-hmm. And other
AT&T
providers didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, isn't that just kind of a perk of having a certain company? You know, I don't know if I'm necessarily against
I see
it.
what you're saying there, but it's not just on the side of the consumer. It's on the side of the business as well. This, whether it be small business, big business. So the big business can handle the fine or whatever it is, the fee to get their
their content streamed at 1080p.
Streaming. Yeah, exactly. Whereas the small business is not going to have that money,
Yeah,
and so it's
480p.
going to be throttled. So it's going to be going at a much slower rate, and so that in and of itself, even if they have the better content, that content's not going to reach people. Because I mean, like
I disagree, man.
I don't want to use this website because it's not going fast enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think
You're
that
not going to
people,
watch a 480p
I don't think
video,
that
right?
people blame the website when their stuff isn't getting streamed.
But
So
I
they're
think
not gonna
most
go
of
to
the
it.
anger.
They're not
Oh
going to
no,
go to it
false.
again.
In the UK, Verizon was throttling at your house, not cell phones. They were throttling Netflix. And Netflix was getting so annoyed with people calling in and saying, your thing's slow, that they posted a message on the loading screen that says, we're waiting on your ISP to provide the data. They blamed the ISP. Wow. The ISPs were throttling the communication. And
well, for sure that's happened. I know for a fact that Comcast used to throttle League of Legends because League of Legends the developers wouldn't pay them to not do that.
That's so wrong.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because
no,
it's simple. Data is data. Transmit it. Your job as AT&T is to take my packet and deliver it as fast as you can. Yeah. Ready, set, go.
And I'm not going to argue that. But what I meant by it's tricky is that it's because you have this middleman that is necessary. Mm-hmm. It is, otherwise.
And they know that. They know they're necessary, and they thrive on that.
But that's why they have to have the regulations essentially, because it is a necessary.
It's a utility.
It's exactly what they did with the regular telephones, where everybody has to be treated equally.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Just because I'm calling you and talking faster.
This has always been my stance. I'm trying to see the other
I like
side.
to use this analogy.
Yeah.
So I like to use this analogy for net neutrality. Let's say you have two toasters, and AEP, the power company, and then let's say you have GE, right? GE, they both make toasters. Let's just say for this example, and if you plug the toaster that AEP made into the wall, you will only be charged at 5 cents per watt. But if you plug in the non-AEP one, you're going to be charged 7.5 cents a watt.
But there's no way for them to decipher that ever.
Well, that's how that's how they're trying to dictate the internet.
Yeah.
If you plug in my Hulu's business partner's data, I'll give you a cheaper rate. So what are you going to buy?
Well, that goes to a place that I don't like either, Steve, because the solution to that is just making all data traffic anonymous. And then charging you for how much you're sending and receiving, because I'm not. I would rather just pay a flat rate, get all the data that I want.
Well, that's fair too.
Yeah, I like that a lot better. But I mean, I think that's probably where we're headed then, right? There's sort of an electrical. You'll have like this internet meter, and it'll tick up, and you can watch it. Right. I think that's probably the most.
Well, they already have the meters actually. So AT&T has a third party.
But is it a third party?
I'm pretty sure it's a third party company, and their job is literally to just measure data usage. So what else on net neutrality? Zero rating. I hate that. Throttling. One thing I could be okay with throttling on that they mentioned at the FCC's meeting when they dismantled net neutrality was the need for the assurance that the network will be available in the event of an emergency. And their example is that as technology continues to advance, EMS services are more utilizing the LTE network than ever before. 10 years ago, if you had a patient in the back of an ambulance, you would have to call in and get patient data. Today, you can type it into a computer. LTE infrastructure will take care of the request and get the data back. That's a life-saving opportunity where data is absolutely needed to ensure the safety of somebody. And that is probably the only place that I will give up and let go on throttling networks. If my Netflix is interfering with the EMS team's ability to transmit data, by all means, throttle my traffic, and ensure that they get the data that they need. Fuck you for not having a good enough infrastructure to support me streaming. And then,
Well, those aren't cheap though, are they? I mean, like infrastructure, laying coax, for instance, that you need a repeater. I think it's is it 300 meters?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's not far. It's really
very
not
expensive.
Far. Yeah.
There's I have some friends that live in, I think Dalton is the place, and they don't have providers out there. They have a main line running from the road, but the line doesn't run into the house. It's just a line out in the road, and it's going to cost them $1,200
just to tap into it.
Just to tap into it.
Well, we actually have a repeat in this house. We have a repeater in the basement.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. There's an outlet like a transformer.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have one anywhere nearby, but it's a transformer, and then it's not a plug that plugs into it. It's a coax cable that plugs into the electrical grid, and then that goes to a repeater, and that boosts the signal into the house so that we can actually I get faster than what I'm supposed to get internet.
Oh,
here.
nice.
A lot of the time, like I get like when I'm downloading things, I can get up to like 14 megabytes a second.
Only 14? Oh, megabytes.
Bytes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. How many megabits is that?
I don't know. How many is it?
I can't
divide
remember
by
the
8,
conversion.
or times by 8, because that's how much is in a byte.
It's I was only supposed to get 100, and I think it's more.
So you're getting
It's like
14 times 8?
132.
Yeah,
or
it's
something like, or
yeah,
142.
So we
Nice.
actually do get a little bit more than what we're supposed to get.
Yeah, but you know what? Shame on them then. They're offering you 100. They should cap you at 100.
Oh, fuck you, Steve.
No, but that's the problem that these fuckers are having. AT&T. Okay, this drives me nuts.
Do you know AT&T has a data cap? It's a terabyte.
Oh, yeah, so does Spectrum.
No,
We
they
talked
don't.
about this.
No, we don't.
They did. You and I
Okay.
talked about this,
Yeah,
didn't
they don't have it.
we talked about it, and I think they removed it. Because when I was with Spectrum, sure as fuck it was there. A terabyte.
Yeah.
But people are saying now that it doesn't.
No, it
I know
definitely
AT&T does because I see it on my information. But what was I going to say? It was really, really good. It really grinds my gears. What was
We'll
it?
just trust it was awesome.
It was. What were we just saying?
I don't know.
Damn it. Oh, the reason that the telecommunication companies fucked themselves. So, let's say I have a community of 100 people.
Oh yeah,
right?
municipalities are starting to fight back on that.
Oh, well, that too, yeah. I love that. California, cities, and the state are like, you
Starting
guys.
to provide their own service.
Yeah, they're creating their own infrastructure. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm happy about that.
Well, yeah, that's competition. That's what I'm all about.
Exactly. So what happened? AT&T said, to 100 people, they said, we'll give you all 50 megs down. 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
So what AT&T didn't do is, well, what's the max potential load on our system if every 100 people used 50 megs down all at once? What would that load be on there? Well, let's say that load is 500 units.
See, I've heard that it isn't a guaranteed 50, that because you never almost are.
It's
never
not, and
getting-
I'm going to tell you why it's a problem.
It's up to that.
Yeah. So here's the reason that.
Well, as long as they're clear about that, I'm fine. As long as you disclose that.
But the reason they're struggling now is because of what I'm about to explain.
Okay, go ahead.
So you have 100 people. The load is 500 units. Let's not define units, but say it's just 500, right? So with that analysis, 100 people is 500 units. Well, AT&T didn't have 500 units of capacity.
Mm-hmm.
They only had 300. So what would happen is 60 people would log in. They'd be using the bandwidth. The other 40 people wouldn't. And they'd be at about 290 units of capacity. So they were good. They were okay. 20 more people would log on, and they'd go over. So they'd have to bring everyone else back down.
Right.
So instead of ensuring that everyone can use the network at the same time and stay within the network's capacity, they didn't. They oversold what they had available. And so what ended up happening is they were overstretching their network. So that if someone was streaming HD Netflix 1080p at 7 o'clock at night and 30 other people were doing it, they had problems with their network. Mm-hmm. Not because people are now streaming Netflix more than ever, because they oversold the capacity that they didn't have. And they really try to sell it. People watching Netflix more and they're streaming HD TV. No, motherfucker.
Well, you do realize
you knew that it was 50 megs down and that you knew you had 100 people on that package on that area in your network. You knew that you were overselling what you had available in that network.
But you do realize it's more complicated than just having capacity. Like, it depends on where you are in the lineup too. Like if it's running down the street, let's just make it a linear situation to make it more easy. But the first person that's connected to that, and then we're taking ladder steps backwards. The first person that's connected to it, they have the best access to that network. Absolutely, that's true.
Okay.
And then once that repeater hits, it starts over. So it's difficult to do that because the more people that are tapped in, the person at the end of that fucking line is getting dribbles. You know what I mean? Like they're getting the remaining bits. That's how networks work.
Okay.
It goes to the person that is connected first.
So
then
we
think of it more like this way. Think of it more as like a stream. And so if the first,
I love when Ben Shapiro said, or whatever Ben said that. He's like, think of it as a stream, and then the commentator's like, wait, Ben, you just said this wasn't a utility. And he's like, so almost think of it as like a pipe with water.
I'm not trying to argue against net neutrality right now. I'm just trying to argue how.
I just want to make that point. It was really fun.
Yeah. But so think of it as a stream. And so if I tap into this stream and try to get water, right? Depending on how big of a hole I've opened, like that's how much water is now lost from that stream, right? And there's less that can go down the thing. And that's exactly how a data network works. Until it hits that repeater, that fucking spring that hits the stream again and gets more water added to it, or a stronger signal boost. That's how it works.
So don't sell a package to the person at the end of the repeater until you have the capacity in your network
or
to
just
support
be
it.
clear that this is an up to, like you're getting up, like this is where we cut you off, and then depending on the demand on our network, like you may see fluctuations on how much you can get.
Right. All I'm trying to say is these companies are saying people are streaming Netflix, and that's why we're having problems.
Well, that's true.
I disagree. The reason they're having problems is because they oversold their network. They were making money on it, man. They didn't have to update anything.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And then
it
add
is
an extra 100 people.
But we're starting to get there. We're starting to make progress. They are starting to lay fiber, which is cheaper.
Jesus.
Which is cheaper too.
And it's so much faster.
It has a lot more capacity, and it's cheaper.
Yep. Let's just hope they don't oversell those
cheaper.
lines.
They don't have to repeat it as much. It may actually be more expensive for the actual material.
Yeah, I think fiber costs the actual material, but you talked about the repeater. The physical properties of fiber
allow
optics,
you
can
expand.
go a greater distance and faster.
Absolutely. Faster is an operative word there because it's not actually faster. It's just you can get more at once. Your signal goes the same speed no matter. It goes at light speed anywhere.
Even if you're on coax?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it goes all at the speed of light. It's just how open are the floodgates of data that you can receive at once.
I'm gonna have to look into this. This is cool.
You should know this, Steve.
Right. Wow, it went again.
Yeah. Jesus.
We went an hour?
Oh, maybe we did go an hour.
We've been going. We're at 2 hours and 32 minutes
break.
right now. You want to use a break? All right,
Yeah,
we'll
just real
take a
quick.
break.
I need to put my eye drops
Can
in.
I?
Well, we
can
were
I
just
take
in the middle of a
break?
point,
Guys, go
damn it,
ahead.
Chris. Okay, yeah.
Hey,
No, but that's what bandwidth is. Bandwidth is not
I know.
fast you get it. It's how much you can
how
get
big
at
the
a time.
stream is.
Yes.
But I didn't know that coax was the speed of light.
Yeah, it all is. It's all
Nice.
electricity, dude.
Does electricity travel at the speed of light?
I think so.
Do you care if I step outside? Cut that out.
All right, and we're back. I think, right? We're back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, we're back. Yeah, so I don't know if you heard, but we're thinking maybe wrap it up. We're at about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a while. That's
Yeah.
all right.
Dude, does my agent just send the bill to you and then you pay it out?
Oh, is that what's going on?
For friends, I charge $0 an hour.
Oh, good, yeah.
But I at least have to charge
But
it.
yeah,
and
so
then
I think
deduct it so I
we've
can do
made
taxes.
no progress at all. I think that the country is going to be just as bad off as it was before. But I think at least maybe we can get some people to think about things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think let's wrap with maybe a State of the Union. And I think it's
the union.
yeah,
From
State
each
of
of
the Union.
us.
I think it's scary where this is going.
Yes.
I hate the left with a passion.
That's not nice.
And I don't hate the classic left. I don't hate the left that used to be because I used to think that I was more of a liberal. I
think you're making the mistake that I was making about using the term right to mean corporatist. In this case, I think so. For example, we still consider the Democrats to be the left. They're not the left.
There's some cultural changing garbage. Well, no, not Democrat. Actually, Democrats. I don't really like any particular political party. Maybe apart
I'd say
from
the Libertarians.
Apart from the Libertarian Party, but
I don't like them either.
They had a lot of views though that you'd agree with. I would imagine.
That's what I keep telling him, that he's a closet libertarian.
Oh, there'll be stuff you don't.
But I think that I don't like the place that the country's going. It's very intersectional. It's very divisive. They're very diligently trying to put blacks against whites and minorities against whites. And I think that the majority of white people don't want any kind of bad things to happen to minorities. And I think that that's not what's being put out there. I think that there's this concept of privilege, which I'm against. Look at me, I'm doing the fucking Hillary Clinton fist pointing. But
at least it's not the...
Do the drill sergeant.
Yeah, there we go. I think that there's this concept of white privilege that it is intended, whether or not it was initially intended to, but I think that it's what it's become is a divisive thing, because there's people that are white that look at that. Anytime you tell people that they have a white privilege, but they've struggled, and it's very possible that any white person has struggled just as much as these black people that you're talking about.
I don't discount
in poverty.
Yeah.
And so for you to say that it what it does is it makes everybody that doesn't feel that they have that go, fuck you. You know what I mean?
It's meant to be that, and that's actually a great part to wrap it up on, I think, because we've talked about this before. This kind of like dictator 101. If you're doing something that's screwing over the people, you distract them with these other issues.
Right.
You pit them against one another.
Yeah. History shows they've done
this.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's obvious, I mean, especially coming from the Democrats these days, that they are constantly pushing these social issues into a very...
And they're very divisive.
Exactly. And I think that, of course, is to distract from the fact that they are all failures and traitors to their base, and in similar on the Republican side.
Absolutely,
I think that
there's less social issue pushing on the Republican side. I will say that.
These days, I mean, it switches back.
No, for sure. Yeah, it used to be like a religious side. You know, like, we don't want gays to get married because it's against our religion.
Oh, that shit's still there.
But...
Not as bad. It's still there though.
Whatever.
It's still there.
But I think obviously because most politicians have adopted the thing of gay marriage, what that points to that most of the people that are electing them have decided that this is probably something. And I've always been an advocate. I'm like, who cares? It doesn't affect me personally. Right. So why should I have anything to say as to whether somebody else can do something? And that goes the same. That kind of ties in with free speech, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if somebody's saying something that you can tolerate that, if it's not harming somebody, right? If it's not physically attacking them, if it's not physically damaging them, mental thing, that's another story. I think that maybe, I don't know. I was having a conversation with a black man. His name was Sergeant Mick something. Fuck. I should remember this.
Sergeant McFuck.
Yeah. Sergeant McFuck. Anyway, I was telling him about how it's important that we don't start banning words, including the N-word, including that one.
I agree.
And it's because that starts off as a good thing, right? But then what that can lead to, it sets a precedent for something that could lead to something much worse.
Well, you guys may have even noticed I used that word earlier. But I didn't use it in a way that was derisive.
I didn't hear it. Did you hear it?
No, you said it?
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly okay with that. And here's the thing.
You guys didn't even
notice. I'm very much of the George Carlin ideology of language. And that is that words are neutral. It's how you use them. So if you do say the word nigger.
Agree.
Like right now, I didn't call anyone a nigger. I'm not using the word as saying, like I'm saying, term. I'm not using it. I'm just saying the word.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all that word is at that point. So is it...
Well, so let me ask this. If I'm going to make the quote because someone else did. There's a YouTuber that said, "You nigger."
No, he said, playing. "What a fucking nigger."
Oh, was that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
oh man, he's got so much backlash.
But that guy is not racist. He's
Right,
definitely
and
not.
that's what he kept
if
saying.
If you actually watch his videos and know him, he's actually a great guy.
There was
Felix.
PewDiePie.
PewDiePie is the one that you're talking about, and then there was another one, Ninja, who recently did it. Who
Ninja's
he was
with-
doing it in a lyric.
He
was singing a song, got the song wrong, and said nigga in it. Who cares? He's not racist. That doesn't make you racist. Just saying that word, uttering those letters together in a close proximity and making that noise is not inherently racist. It's not. The word has a racist. The word has a racist undertone, or not undertone, but like a racist history. It has a racist, like it's intended for a racist purpose. Like the creation of the word is a racist thing, but just uttering that word does not make you a racist.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah,
I can agree on that.
And PewDiePie got a lot of shit, dude.
I
And
know,
this actually brings me to another topic. So, and wrapping it up, wrapping it up,
we're
second
gonna talk
half.
about 10 different more things.
But it brings me to another topic is that advertisers need to stop being such fucking pussies, dude.
Oh, on YouTube or
YouTube anywhere, because they're pulling any kind of discrepancy that happens for them advertising for anyone. These leftists these alt left people, these people that are on the far left, reach out to these advertisers and say, "Hey, look at this," or "We're boycotting you because of this," when they had nothing to do with it. They're just advertisers.
Can you give me an example?
What's her name on Fox News?
Well, Fox should just be taken down altogether.
Well, I could. Tommy Lauren?
No.
Megyn Kelly's not there anymore.
I disagree
Sean
with that,
Hannity?
by the way. No, what's her name?
Laura
Ingraham.
Ingraham. Yeah,
Laura
okay.
Ingraham
Okay.
recently made a comment about David Hogg. Don't even get me started on how much.
Oh,
she
attacked him.
She didn't attack him really. She just said that he was whining about how like colleges didn't accept him, and then he said something like, "Well, if they don't want to help us with our cause, then we'll just go somewhere else." It's like, dude, you're kind of dumb for saying that. But she just made a comment that you're whining. He's whining about that. She tweeted it. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick of Twitter too. Don't get me started. But so he called for a boycott of all her advertisers. And then people jumped on board.
Oh man.
And then these advertisers started pulling out from her show.
Do you think he knew that on his own, or do you think someone told him to do that?
It doesn't matter.
I think so.
I'm not criticizing David Hogg right now. I don't like him. That's my opinion. But I'm not criticizing him right now. Right now, I'm criticizing the advertisers for actually following through with the outrage and caving to these idiots that follow around a 15-year-old. Let's be honest. He's a 15-year-old, and they're like Pied Pipering.
I mean, I didn't think we have to bring up his age, just the stance that he has.
Or he's not
on these
15.
items.
I think he's 17. Sorry.
Yeah, but I think age, regardless. I mean, whether he's 90 or he's 10, the opinions and perspective that he has, I don't agree with. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I think it's sad that these companies are caving. I feel extremely bad.
They ruined YouTube. That's something that you and I have talked about.
YouTube shot themselves in the foot long ago with all of the issues that they're having with restrictions and monetization on videos.
But that's how it started, Steve. It started with the Wall Street Journals. Well, no, actually, I think it started a little bit before that. Yeah. But what really pushed it through was the Wall Street Journal's article on PewDiePie.
Okay.
They called him a Nazi. No, this was before that.
Oh, okay.
This was way before that. They called him a Nazi because he was like doing parody. He was parodying. He dressed up as like a Nazi and was like watching it. And it was that video specifically was a commentary on YouTube Heroes. Do you remember that program that they talked about putting through? So pretty much like this YouTube Hero program was a thing that they would say where the users go and flag things as inappropriate, and then that video gets taken down because people are flagging it. But you see the problem with that right away, don't you?
Oh, abuse. People are
absolutely. People would abuse the shit out of that.
Yeah.
And so he went dressed up as a German Nazi soldier and was watching Hitler and saying this is like making a parody commentary on the YouTube Hero program.
Yeah.
And so, but they took all these videos of stuff like that out of context.
Yeah.
Right? Where they don't put in why he's doing it. They just put in that he did it.
Yeah.
And they clipped together a video and they wrote an article and they showed it to YouTube, or they showed it to actually YouTube's advertisers, who then said, "Oh, well, we're out. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, you know, like the big ones, the big ones, because of the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is the scummiest garbage organization ever, dude. They ruined YouTube. And after that, you notice that your
what
recommendation
year was that happened?
That was a while ago. I mean, like
15,
2 years ago, I'd say
13, maybe 11.
Oh, so
like,
yeah, it was before
yeah.
YouTube faced the monetization crisis.
Yeah,
it was last year, I think. That they had a
no,
big
this was a long time ago. This is back when like PewDiePie had like a YouTube Red show, and he had a contract with Disney for a show with Disney and stuff. I mean, like he was getting a lot of things, and Disney pulled out. YouTube canceled his YouTube Red series. Excuse me, it was called Scare PewDiePie.
Yeah.
I remember seeing.
Yeah.
Previews for it.
And so it's just YouTube advertisers need to have a fucking pair of balls and stop. Just do what's the word? I can't think of the word.
I like to think
I'm
jumping
getting
on
tired,
the
man.
bandwagon.
Like this has been a long podcast, but they need to stop caving to the demands of these people that are not not representative of the mass population.
But then they're a private organization. Who the fuck cares what the population thinks?
Yes.
The problem
well, the
comes in,
advertisers are the ones that are doing it. So they do care, because if you have people that are saying we're not going to buy your products anymore and it's because of this, but the problem is that these people actually don't represent the majority of others.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And so, but they're caving to those people, and those people happen to be left. They happen to be people that they're, you know, for transgender rights, gay rights, which I haven't really ever opposed. But you know, like minority, like white privilege, you know, all this stuff that a lot of people disagree with, or at least see issues with, right? Mm-hmm. And they're controlling the culture, they're controlling the media, they're controlling these things that frankly ruin it for the rest of us. Yeah, it really kind of does.
So you would agree on what's happening with the NRA and how all the supporters and discount, like Boeing and all of those corporations are saying we're going to drop the NRA membership.
Yeah, why? They had that for a reason in the first place.
Yeah,
you know, and what does that have to do with? The NRA had absolutely nothing to do with the shooting in Parkland.
Well, so if you're on the left, you might disagree with that. What are your thoughts on guns?
Oh, boy.
This is the next podcast.
It might have to be, but
yeah.
but I mean, you can go ahead and say that. But I
okay.
think you would agree that they had absolutely nothing to do with that shooting.
Depends on how you look at it, I suppose. But I'd have to look into that shooting without.
But
I don't want to speak really tough on that one.
Okay,
no, that's fair.
Yeah, but you can still have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The kid that did it wasn't NRA.
Mm-hmm.
NRA has nothing to do with it.
See, I don't know much about the shooting, so I don't know how he got the gun or anything like
that.
Right,
but the NRA, as far as its members, had nothing to do with it.
Okay, well now there's a big difference between the members and the leadership. Okay,
maybe that's true.
A lot of corruption.
But that doesn't mean that do you think that the leadership wanted a school shooting to happen? I think that's crazy.
I think they wanted the money from the gun sales. Or the membership.
Gun sales go up when there's a big shooting.
Well, because there's a big threat of the Second Amendment being repealed. That's why.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're the left. There.
So I don't believe that
correctly, perhaps.
yes.
That's up for debate, and it's actually pretty clear that
when a sentence starts with a well-regulated militia,
which is composed
well-regulated militia.
Okay, but what's the second?
Yeah, but it's not
a
militia for the government; it's a militia for me. So really,
yeah. What is the second part of the comma?
Together.
What is the second part of that? What is the second part of that? Being necessary for the security of a free state. Yeah. Yes, and what does that mean?
The right of the people to keep and bear arms.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean, though? The free state means that the government cannot be in charge of this militia, because if they are part of that.
Yeah, and what happened to the state militias that are now part of the National Guard? Okay,
they're federalized.
I think they actually destroyed the Second Amendment by turning it into this idea of an individual right to bear arms.
Or they didn't, because
is a long conversation.
That is a long conversation, and I've heard nothing but evidence to suggest that it should be. You should be allowed to. Yeah, you own guns. saying that.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, you do? Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like one of them at least. I don't think I should be allowed to have.
What is it?
It's actually just a Ruger. It's actually only 22, but it's semi-automatic. And I could.
Oh, an AR is
you know,
only
30
22.
rounds. So. No, an AR is 223. So it's a 5.56 millimeter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was 22.
No, 22 is
I
pretty
don't have
small.
an AR.
Yeah, 22. It's a lot smaller, especially with the 223. It's a much larger round.
Well, yeah, it's
as
a
well.
rifle round.
Right. With
Yeah.
22 is something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah, but isn't... We'll talk later on.
Yeah.
Steve doesn't know much about guns.
Right. We were both in the military, so it's.
Oh, right, that's why.
Yeah.
I have a 9mm.
I disagree. I think if you're talking about banning semi-automatics, that is you're gonna criminalize a lot of the law-abiding population, and that's an issue.
Yeah, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's an issue. And also,
We'll get into it
and
more.
well, no, let's might as well let's uncap it at least. Are you aware that the murder rate in London has surpassed that of New York?
I was not aware, but
With
And,
what?
and they're talking about banning knives now
maybe
because
not.
that's how the murders are happening with knives. So
Well, essentially, I mean, one of the biggest
They're
problems.
going to ban fist
they're,
knives.
no, and they're seriously like somebody
Yeah.
said. There's no reason for you to ever have a knife on you. Like this was a government official. There's no reason for you to ever have a knife on you. There's no reason for you to carry it around. If you get seen carrying it around, you're going to go to jail.
Like,
That's
if
crazy.
It's a machete, okay, but
Right, but that's not what they're even murdering
Okay.
people with. You can still get murdered with a pocket knife. You can get stabbed with a kitchen knife. Like if
Oh,
you
dude, I
go
can
buy
hit
a
you with a
knife from a
pencil.
store to cut the meat up at home, like you're gonna get in trouble. That's ridiculous.
I used to carry a
Pocket knife,
multi-tool,
right?
basically,
Yeah,
all
exactly.
the time.
That and that
Yeah,
would
and I
become
use it all
illegal.
the
That would
time.
become illegal in London.
So I'm not in favor of that.
Yeah.
But actually, I think thinking more on it, I think our issue is actually more cultural than anything.
Well, yeah, you can get
We'll
on
get-
all
yeah.
into the
Yeah.
ideas of SSRIs being a huge issue. Do you know
Alright.
they're psychotropic drugs?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I went too loud.
Dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Psychotropic drug, dude, it goes
Dude,
back to the pharmaceutical
I
companies.
think every single mass shooter in the last at least several, or at least
a lot of them.
at least like 99% or something, like a very very
Yes.
high statistic has been on or
Psychotropic
recently
drugs.
taken or removed, or what's the word, gone off of, has been on or recently gone
Got
off
off
of
of.
psychotropic drugs.
Okay.
Yep.
And so that's something to consider.
Yep.
Mass shooters, and to be honest, I mean, like, there are people running over people with cars, and there way more people die from cars than they do from guns in this country.
Mhm.
And then also I think it's like 30,000 people a year die from gun violence in the US.
About 11,000 homicides.
67% of those are suicides. 8% are
That's why I said 11,000 are actually homicides.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and the majority of them are, and then how many of those are in places where guns are banned?
Yeah,
A
that's
lot.
the interesting stats to
A
look at.
lot.
Chicago.
Yeah. So, it's a very complicated issue, and the left is pretty wrong on it, I think. Well, especially when they talk about
I think both
banning
sides are
weapons.
wrong ultimately. 'Cause
Maybe.
I think it's a deeper issue. I think it's more of a problem with our culture.
Yeah, no, I can get behind that argument.
Well, and that's why I
depending
go
on
with
where
our
it goes.
culture is so okay with, like, we want to be happy. We want instant satisfaction. So we go to our doctors, and our doctors, oh, well, here's Wellbutrin, or here's this drug, or here's that drug. And then we're on the drug, and we're just kind of going through our daily cycle, doing our daily cycle thing. And we lose a lot of understanding of what's going on around us. The studies on psychotropic drugs clearly indicate that there is a problem, a huge problem. And as a culture,
And you never hear about that
we're
when there's a
okay
mass
with
shooting
that.
either.
No.
That is never part of the conversation. Like it's all about, oh, let's get rid of the tool that does it or not. And it's never about the individual. It's never about what that individual may have done or how they've come up, or look at their actual situation. It's always about the gun. And the gun is at best a small part of.
It's a very small part. It's a
Yeah.
tool, and it's an instrument, and it's no different from a knife or a baseball bat or
Right.
anything
You
else.
don't blame the instrument like for something. It's pretty crazy to me.
But I agree with you. It's the culture, and it's the family concept. If you see these shooters, there's a study that a lot of them grew up in single family homes, and where it was just mom, and they didn't have a dad. So I think there's that perspective is too that we need to look at. We're drugging our kids. We're giving them shitty home environments, which instinctively makes them depressed to go get the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing these problems.
I think that actually has more to do with it than anything else. Is the high degree of poverty in our country more than anything else.
But typically those people that commit mass shootings aren't from areas of poverty.
Yeah, that
so
Vegas shooter, he was not
Yeah,
poor. He
I
was
don't
very
think
wealthy.
that poverty really has a lot to do with it. Now, if you're going to talk about overall gun violence, I think that there's poverty plays a factor.
Yeah.
Right, but that's not something that gets national attention. That's not something that brings the debate to to banning weapons or not banning weapons.
Well, let's keep it real. Both sides, the political both sides anyway, they use these things as political footballs essentially. They're going, the left will go way hard on the, let's ban guns, when the right will go way hard on, these shootings are happening, we need to buy more guns, to prevent it. They both use it politically, okay, but I think they both are getting it wrong.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's something to say that I was listening to Joe Rogan yesterday. Mm-hmm. I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. And he was talking about guns and how when he goes to the gun range, you'll never meet more polite people. He says that there is something to that old saying that a well-armed society is a polite society. Because that you're not going to be a dick to somebody who potentially could kill you at any moment. And
it's sad though that has to be the reason we're nice to each other.
You're right, it is. But on the other hand, maybe there is some benefit. There was this meme going around that was kind of hilarious when there was that movement to ban guns. It's like everyone put a colored light in your front door if you're throwing away your guns or something. It's like, yeah, go right ahead. See what happens.
All the comments, they're like, I know whose house to rob.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a funny joke because then you don't have anything to worry about, of course, unless that person's trolling.
Right. Oh my God.
And they can't wait. They're
sitting there on the floor.
Yeah, just waiting for somebody to come in. But
got him.
Yeah, but yeah. Getting back to the State of the Union, it's kind of scary, man. I think we may be headed towards some kind of revolution, especially
collapse.
With how divided, collapse even, and not on top, and even with the national debt on top of that. Mm-hmm. There ain't no way we're paying that shit back.
Right.
No,
they're spending way more, and here's the worst part, is they're printing more money, and that in itself is a form of tax. Mm-hmm. Okay, because when the government prints money and then spends it, that money has the
value.
Well, yes, I'm getting there, but that money has, when they spend it, that money still has the initial buying power that it would.
This is an awesome concept.
anywhere, like anywhere, as if somebody had a dollar that wasn't freshly printed, it still has that initial buying power. But then as it trickles down, it becomes less and less valuable. Right. So the government gets the full benefit of having that money.
Yep.
And then it does trickle down, so everybody does get more money.
The further down the line you are, the worse off you are.
The less it is worth.
The more acclimated the market is to the newly stimulated amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an analogy for this, like with shoes. There's a book. It was an economics book in college that I read, and it talked about how when you print money, it's the first 3 people that get the benefit. Yeah. Anyone after that gets screwed because the value of shoes have gone up now. So you're just gonna
the cost.
Yeah, the cost of the shoes gone up. Yep.
The value has stayed the same.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good place to wrap. It's been fun.
Yeah.
To do this again.
I've enjoyed it.
For sure.
We'll see what we can talk about next time. I hope we haven't exhausted everything.
Oh no,
maybe from now on we can maybe do like current events, something. I know that's a struggle for you since you just kind of live in a hole, but
I'm okay.
You'll have to dig yourself out a little bit.
If I'm preparing for a show, I'll be good.
But yeah, that I'm not actually attacking Chris, by the way. It's just a little joke because I would have to tell him about current events all the time. He's like, I don't know anything about it.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm usually about 3 months behind.
Yeah.
World War III started about a month ago.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
if anyone told you.
Yeah.
Well, it's old news now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, these bullshit. We're all against wars, all of us.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Unless it's needed. I mean, unless someo's treading on our
If
shit.
someone-
then
if
let's go
someone's
fuck 'em
attacking
up.
us,
Hey, if we want their oil, we're gonna fucking take it.
Yeah.
Oh, have you seen the oil memes going around?
No, I haven't seen it.
There's a picture of lotion, and it said like suntan oil or some crap on it. And then the next picture was like it was focused in on oil, and then the next picture was a U.S. Marine or something, like jumping on the thing. It's they're getting rid of
All right, guys, we're at 3 hours.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
So we set the standard.
Yeah, we made it.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. All right. So with that, thank you guys for listening or watching. If I decide to upload this video, and we'll see you next time.
I wanna read my script apart.